sympathise with Starmer's policies
Haha!
and Reeves'.
I am live.
Even when they're being slightly better, because they did fudge the way in which they get to the number in order to free up tens of billions. It's they're going to be spending it mainly on landlords and manufacturers of arms. Brilliant. But even so, it's tinkering around the edges. That's all they can. That's the biggest they can possibly dream is marginal improvements, which ultimately doesn't win you elections. When Nigel Farage is offering like
Still
magic,
Kev.
he's not going to achieve magic, but people are prepared to like go with a dream rather than the shit reality.
Yeah, for sure. And like you'd have like even if I can let Labour off in terms of the policies they do that I like, right? It's going to have to be a really good policy for me to overlook the whole genocide thing.
Yeah, the genocide is not helpful, certainly.
And also, they're acquiescing to an EHRC that they want to replace with someone
But
just
yeah, Mark.
that essentially might make me leave the country. Like it's just there are so many red lines
I'm not
being crossed that I just can't. Like you've watched my channel, right? You know my content. I will never criticise unduly. I will always root my criticism in fact, and I will say good things when good things are good when I think that they're good. But even those good things can't. I just can't be dealing with the fact that.
Oh, I'm not arguing for.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing for a second that you should vote for these fuckers. I'm saying just in terms of them being an electoral possibility for the country, as you know.
Yeah, exactly.
At large, like the people of Middlesbrough, and I don't want to just pick on Middlesbrough, whatever. Like places in the north of England and Wales. Are not
This not being good tonight for me.
If they change things, there's still enough time that they can win it round.
Don't know if you
They
can
are
tell.
Term, and we understand how the
It is pink. It's pink to me.
But
It does well. No neoprene either, which is good.
Frankly, they need to get rid of fucking Morgan McSweeney.
Yes, they do.
No, I know they're not going to do like full-scale
Morgan McSweeney, piss off. Thank you.
But they could do some very, very basic social democracy, and that would probably be enough. Because the Reform Party don't have anything really going that they can really sell. The Tory Party are dead. The Lib Dems are okay, I guess, or whatever. But there's a lot of people that would be prepared to give the Labour Party another 4 or 5 years if they can see some improvements. And so far, they're fucking not. And that's the challenge for them, I suppose.
Yeah, very true. I mean, there could be some kind of future where Starmer gets ousted. They, shove Andy Burnham in some safe seat somewhere, but
maybe. But I mean,
That's a good question, actually. Where would he actually run? I don't want him to leave being Mayor of Manchester. He's doing quite good there.
yeah,
But
that's also true.
entirely up to him, of course.
Okie doke. So you're off gallivanting.
So I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'll do a rare Friday stream so I can get in the very last piece I can before we go. So I'll be alive tomorrow, probably late in the evening. Because I'm going to be staying up late for my flight, basically. So I'll definitely see everybody then. The question is, where are we going to do the Raid Arena?
I have no idea. I always leave this far too late. Where are we?
Do you have the serfs and Clant?
We can do. Hang on, how do I... Why is it not letting me edit my fucking stream? Is my screen too small?
Oh, JFK Rotting has gone live. Let's go to JFK Rotting, because that's a great name.
Oh, hang on. I know what the fucking problem is. God damn it. 1 second. Sorry. I'm on my wrong account. So I was like, why can't I go to the edit screen? Because you weren't on the fucking account yet tomorrow. Who did you say, sorry?
JFK Rotting.
Okay. He hasn't been rotting that long. Okay, doke. I'll be back tomorrow, everybody.
Yes, it's Friday, isn't it? It's
Yes, well, for the first time in a couple of weeks, because she's been away. She was in Bristol and then in Bonn, of all places.
As you do.
Former capital of West Germany. Which apparently is very small and a bit boring. But there we go. James, fuck's sake, Kev, come on now, we want to get to bed for fuck's... Right. Right. Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG on all of the platforms.
Absolutely. Go and follow KFLocal1875 over on Twitch and @Floppy111 over on YouTube to follow Kevin. Please do, it's free.
Indeed, yes. Enjoy your travels, and we shall meet again some
Fingers
sunny
crossed,
day.
Absolutely. I'll probably see me in chat like you did last time.
Yeah.
In which case, free Palestine, and I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Double and triple
Ship out the protesters,
illegal alien
bro.
coming in, rolling back to the detention center.
There will always be more resistance
cool.
than they're able to deal with. They can't deport everybody. Like, holy fucking shit! What the fuck are they thinking, man?
He's shipped out of here.
Just get that whole crowd, you know, add them to the boat.
All of a sudden they're going to get violent. Let them get violent. Then lock them all up. There's a couple thousand, if there are 4,000 or 5,000 of these riders. Hey, it takes 2 or 3 days to lock them up. Lock them up.
On what?
And then
On what? On having an opinion you don't like?
those guys out too. This
Ship them out. Where? Why? For having an opinion you don't like, bro? Holy shit.
double and triple down. You don't flinch. And Ben, you just saw it in action. As soon as they do the ICE raids, as soon as they bring back the people that are that they're going to ship out of here, they're going to deport, because this is called a mass deportation. We're not doing onesies, twosies. It's mass deportation. All of a sudden,
Bro, everybody understands the nature of this. Like, he's saying things like, people are like, oh, you know, like, people would be like, oh my god, you know, wow, it's like so bad. It's like, yeah, we know why it's that bad. Like, you know what I mean?
Rejoice. I am here. Kevin, Helena have finished with question time bollocks. I will not be covering it. They done it quite good, quite conclusively. Yeah, that's the word I'm fucking looking for. I knew it began with a C. I am here. Hello. Kinda Celtic-esque looking top tonight. Because, obviously. Right. I will wait for people to come in. Let's go and chill myself.
Today's a very special day. Today's a very special day.
I give it 1 month until a white, American-born U.S. citizen.
Darling, good, well, technically good morning because it's 7, oh no, it just changed, 8 minutes past midnight here. Hello, welcome. How are you doing, darling? Great to see you. Oh, don't know if you got that one. I'll show you this one.
Today's a very special day. Today's a very special day.
I give it 1 month until a white, American-born U.S. citizen gets deported.
So this has happened before. Did you know that the US government deported an American-born woman to the Soviet Union just because she married a communist? This was during the Palmer raids in 1919 when thousands of immigrants and radicals were arrested and deported. Justin Manko, a Russian-born labor organizer and socialist, was one of them, but his wife was born in the US. She had automatically lost her citizenship under the Expatriation Act of 1907, a law that stripped American women of their citizenship if they married a non-citizen. Any American woman who marries a foreigner shall take the nationality of her husband. So the government used that claim to say that she was no longer a citizen and deported her with him to the USSR. No hearing or due process. And it's important to note many of these people shipped off to the USSR were not from that area.
Fuck that.
In fact, they purposefully dropped them off on the border with Finland. This is at a time with active border conflicts that would lead to the Winter War. Anyways, she was an American, and her love for a communist made her disposable. What makes you think they won't do it again?
I give it 1 month until a white.
Already happened to more than just that one woman. There was lots of people that happened to. Christ's sake, those fucking Palmer raids. Thank you, Lady Izdahar. Much appreciated. Explaining to people what actually happens, or what's happened in the past. Thanks, James.
British media outlets, including some represented here today, have not been passive bystanders in one of the great crimes of our age, but they have been active participants. From the very beginning, there was an avalanche of genocidal and criminal statements.
Hopefully, I should be fine in telling you this on the stream. Should be okay. I got a call from His Majesty's Government Passport Office today, apologising on how they completely fucked up my passport renewal. It was fun. I got some rather, let's put it this way, high up individuals up here in Scotland, one of which I'm related to, and got it all fixed. They're sending me out an actual paper application that I fill in again, put in the application of the one that got withdrawn and banned because they fucked up. I don't need to pay the £88.50 again, thank fuck for that. We didn't fucking have it. We don't want to put any more on the credit card, obviously. So I sent that in. I pay for 2 passport size photos and send them in, along with my most recent co-signer, who has a valid passport that he used just before Christmas. So in the last 7 months, essentially. So I just fill this in, put in the application number of the previous one, send them back with the receipts for the 2 photographs and the postage for sending it back to them. and I'll get my passport. He said before the end of July, so basically within a month. Thanks, HM Passport Office. Thank you for correcting your fucking mistakes that you've made so far in this application. Fucking idiots. So, yay. Hopefully, I'll get my passport before the end of summer. I've got people to go and meet in Ireland. So, both in Northern Ireland and in the Republic. I need my passport to get into the Republic. Thanks, Brexit. With Northern Ireland, you just need to show photo ID. So, hopefully I'll be able to get to them before, like, August or something, or before September at least. So that'll be good. Thank you to anonymous people who have helped me in getting this fucking corrected. I checked the price of your passports, $170 fucking dollars. What the fuck? That is mental. Do you and Cappy have passports? Just curious. You don't need to answer that if you don't want to, sweetie.
Of intent by Israeli leaders, and yet the Western media buried these statements or simply didn't cover them at all, let alone frame their coverage around them, despite them offering the most accurate roadmap to what Israel, in fact, went on to do. Even today, Western media outlets refuse to accurately reflect unambiguously genocidal official Israeli policy. There hasn't even been the slightest pretense that Palestinian life has any worth whatsoever. The lie of beheaded Israeli babies received infinitely more outrage and coverage than the actual mass butchery of Palestinian babies it was used to justify. The Western media has continually amplified Israeli lies despite overwhelming evidence of relentless deceit. Palestinian voices have been systematically marginalised or subjected to perverse show trials on BBC and Sky News. Atrocities have been ignored and whitewashed, Israeli guilt repeatedly erased, the facts of international law suppressed. Opponents of genocide have been systematically deplatformed or
You and Cappy have passports, but I think you've answered it. Because the passport office completely fucked up, I had to bring in some big guns, and they've helped me get it fixed. So hopefully they're sending the paper application form back out to me. Well, I've done the online application, so I've done it on this laptop. So they're sending me out an actual paper application, fill it in, send it back to them with 2 photographs taken in a photo booth. Then I'll get my passport. May I assume that you have used them? Christ. I can't believe the price of your passports. $170 fucking dollars. Mental. How long does the passport application take? I know you've got the States and everything, and if you can drive or use Greyhound or trains or something, you can get to other parts of the country. Yours are ridiculously expensive. Now I can understand to a certain extent why lots of Americans don't have a passport. A lot of you can't fucking afford it. Ours is $88.50. The passport that I sent in to get renewed, my mum paid for it back in 2004, so over 20 years ago, and she paid $58.50, so 30 quid less in over the space of 20 years. It got more expensive, and the entire process got a hell of a lot shittier. Governments, what are you going to do? Plus, my old one was the red, the dark red coloured one, which was the EU colour with the British seal on and shit like that. but it was a dark red one. I'll be getting the nice shiny new navy blue one because of Brexit. I'll just be happy to get my fucking passport. To be able to go and see some of my friends who are over in the Republic and in Northern Ireland will be a good thing. Obviously, I want to get to France so I can meet Lord Fritus. That'll be fun. Or Marcel. They're two of Kev's main followers, subscribers. Those two are very based Frenchmen.
Or both, and the vast majority of Western journalists couldn't.
I'll go back to the beginning.
Of relentless decision.
No, back to the beginning.
Including some represented here today, have not been passive bystanders in one of the great crimes of our age, but they have been active participants. From the very beginning, there was an avalanche of genocidal and criminal statements of intent by Israeli leaders, and yet the Western media buried these statements or simply didn't cover them at all, let alone frame their coverage around them, despite them offering the most accurate roadmap to what Israel, in fact, went on to do. Even today, Western media outlets refuse to accurately reflect unambiguously genocidal official Israeli policy. There hasn't even been the slightest pretense that Palestinian life has any worth whatsoever. The lie of beheaded Israeli babies received infinitely more outrage and coverage than the actual mass butchery of Palestinian babies it was used to justify. The Western media has continually amplified Israeli lies despite overwhelming evidence of relentless deceit. Palestinian voices have been systematically marginalised or subjected to perverse show trials on BBC and Sky News. Atrocities have been ignored and whitewashed, Israeli guilt repeatedly erased, the facts of international law suppressed. Opponents of genocide have been systematically deplatformed or monstered or both, and the vast majority of Western journalists couldn't even utter one sentence of solidarity with their Palestinian colleagues in Gaza as they suffered the worst slaughter of journalists in the history of our species. Like Hossam Shaba, like Hassan Esliya, and yes, like Hamza al-Badoud. The Western media has no excuses and nowhere to hide. No crime in history has been so thoroughly documented as it happened. No crime in history has been so boasted about by its perpetrators, from politicians at the top to soldiers on the ground, as it happened. There must be a reckoning. The absence of consequences for the Iraq war paved the way for this catastrophe. This time, those in the Western media who have facilitated genocide must suffer the consequences to their careers and reputations. Not for vengeance, but because if this time there are no consequences, then we condemn humanity to ever greater calamities. And I say to my fellow journalists, keep every receipt of what editors and producers did and didn't do. Every relevant email, every relevant WhatsApp and text message, note down every relevant conversation. One day there is going to be a reckoning. And the superiors who made these decisions should be forced to defend their decisions in front of the whole world. This is the biggest scandal of Western journalism in modern history. And I know, finally, I know those complicit in our media, I know those complicit in this genocide believe they are protected in perpetuity by an iron dome of Israeli impunity, reinforced by anti-Palestinian racism. But that is already crumbling in real time. They have gambled that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, no consequences will ever arrive. They are wrong. A reckoning is coming. And to the guilty men and women of the Western media, they are going to pay for what they have done to the Palestinian people. Thank you.
At a town hall event on Saturday, Gigi, a 27-year-old disabled constituent, directly challenged Chief Secretary to the Treasury and Bristol North West MP Darren Jones.
The MP she was directing this to was on Question Time tonight. He is Chief Secretary to the Treasury, which is basically Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor's second in command, essentially. So, this one's quite fun. I'll just get my hair sorted. Oh, would you look at this? Shana Sweary. The hair is down to the boubage. Every time I get up in the morning when he sees me, your hair needs cut. I kind of agree with him. I think I need to take off about... Give me a minute. Cinch. Yeah, I was right. It's about there. I need to take off about an inch, essentially. The next time I get my benefit, I'll go to the hairdressers and get like an inch or an inch and a half taken off, just to get rid of the split ends. The shampoo and conditioner set I'm using is doing quite well. Nice and shiny, smooth, not too many tangles. They used to be the bane of my existence when I was a teenager. I like my long hair. My mother, and I literally turned round to her when this was getting done. You are evil. I love my long hair. Don't let her cut it. One of my older cousins is a hairdresser. And she just finished doing her training as a hairdresser back when I was 14, 30 years ago. And she kept on apologising to me while she was doing it in the house. Thanks, Nikki. A foot? Give me a minute. If I took a foot off, it would take me to... Let's see... above my ears. At one point, don't get me wrong, when my cousin was doing that at my mum's behest, my hair was right down to, basically down to my buttocks. I can understand why she got it done. I was still crying all the way through it though when I was 14. Not quite 14, it was a week before my birthday, so I was 13 at the time. She wanted us to get it cut for my birthday. My poor Nikki kept on apologising to me. I said, don't worry, I'll just direct all my anger at Mum. I'm trying not to swear too much on stream. Don't get me wrong, I still swear in real life when I'm around people, and definitely Super Hubby. Fuck that noise, far too fucking hot. I wouldn't know what to do. Seriously, bath full of ice until that nonsense ends. How the right, we have coping mechanisms. Our bodies are set up to go through many extremes. Obviously, fucking deep fucking cold and fucking like, what was it, 108. We can survive in lots of different biomes or climates and stuff. Humans are incredibly adaptable. How is the menagerie doing with that? Poor puppers and kitties. I'm trying to think what one might handle it best. If Ricochet is still like running around the place, he might not be able to do that. That is an oppressive level of heat. It's dry, isn't it? It's not humid. That's dry heat. How's your cloud cover? Holy fuck. That's basically where my hair was when I was a teenager in my 14. Then she got it cut it back. I basically got a bob, so she took off about 2.5 feet of hair. She used to put it on pigtails, like do braids. I quite liked it. I thought my hair looked awesome between like 10 and 13. She made it easier so I could actually wash it myself, so I got a bob. So she took it up to just under my chin and done it into a bob for me. I must admit, looking back now, I did actually look quite cool. I liked my bob. If you want to see an example of it, just look at Rachel Reeves. That's what my hair looked like when I was a mid to late teens. Then I started growing my hair back out. I usually don't let it get too long. I'll take it back to maybe my shoulders at some point. But I'm liking my long hair, so I'll take off an inch, inch and a half, just to tidy it up a bit. Well, that happens. That's a genetic trait, by the way. So that might have happened in your family before. If you've got really curly hair, it depends on your genetics, essentially, and who your parents and grandparents and great grandparents are. My mum had curly hair when she was a teenager, when she was a little girl and into her teens. Then there's an amazing thing called a straightener arrived when she was 10 years old. Then when she was 17, 18, when she was training to be a nurse, she straightened her hair, and she always kept it to roughly her chin. Oh, do they? I've got a natural wave. You might be able to see it. It just goes like that. Not as wild as my mum's. I can't show you the pictures online. I won't do that. I won't do that to my mum. But I thought my mum's hair looked cool when she was in her teens, when she was 16 and 17. She looked quite awesome. But I like curly hair. I've had my hair permed before. Ah, that explains it. Well, that's where you're from. Lots of Irish descendants. Lots of Irish people moved to that area before you moved to Arizona. So yeah, plus lots of Scots as well. Quite a lot of Scots in the Bible Belt as well, for reasons that you can think of. Jeb Stewart was Scottish. She was born here, by the way. Delightful. And Stuart Ely is Scottish ancestry. Stonewall wasn't. And lots of ones on the Union side, they were Scots-Irish as well. And a few Germans. Mostly Prussians, come to think of it. And a few Frenchmen. On both sides, actually, which was kind of weird. Knowing the ancestry of everyone involved in your Civil War back in the 1860s, it's always a good thing to look back a bit, a couple of centuries, to see where they got these attitudes and how they acted in real life and what ideas they believed in and stuff, their politics. You just need to go back, especially to Scotland and England, parts of Germany and parts of Ireland. It all makes sense in the historical. Obviously, I try to teach people history. Do you want to hear this one? This one's fucking wild. Take it away, Curtis. This is Curtis Daly. This is Turn Left Media on YouTube and online, and they have a Patreon. And you could join the membership on YouTube as well. They are really good. Curtis is awesome. Take it away, Curtis.
Over the government's proposed cuts to personal independent payment. Holding a banner that said PIP, Lifeline not pocket money, Gigi responded to a previous remark by Jones in which he likened PIP benefits to giving his children pocket money. Gigi also highlighted the case of Jodie Whiting, a 42-year-old woman who died by suicide in 2017, just days after the DWP stopped her disability benefits. The intervention was organised by Mad Youth Organise and Green New Deal Rising as a part of the latter's Pay Up campaign, which calls on the government to implement wealth taxes to fund public services, climate action, and serve as an alternative to austerity-driven cuts. The confrontation comes as the government reportedly considers softening its planned PIP cuts following strong opposition from Labour MPs. A parliamentary vote on the matter is expected later this month. We also have a video of Gigi challenging Darren Jones.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Darren, but you just announced cuts to affect people like me. The same people like me, 300,000 people are going to be pushed into poverty. You compared you compared PIP to pocket money. It is not pocket money, it is a lifeline. There are people's lives at risk here. There are people's lives at risk. People are going to die. Jodie Whiting, do you know Jodie Whiting? She died housebound alone because the DWP cut support. Why don't you get the richest to pay up and pay and fund for healthcare rather than attack people like us who are already poor and disabled? Shame on you for not speaking up on this. Shame on you. Who's the rich instead of affecting people like us who are already the most vulnerable in society? Shame on you. Whose side are you on, Darren? The same side are you on? On the super rich. You have a choice. This is going to kill people. This will kill people. There's people's lives on their hands. You have a choice, Darren.
Well done, Gigi.
Now, I
Fucking
caught up
awesome.
with Gigi earlier today and discussed what went down on Saturday. What made you decide to confront Darren Jones?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, so I decided to confront Darren Jones because he is my MP at Bristol North, so I'm part of his constituency, firstly. And secondly, he is Rachel Reeves' deputy at the Treasurer. And currently, his department is pushing cuts that will directly affect people like me, disabled people like me. So these are disability cuts that he has suggested, or the government has suggested. And he also revealed quite a callous attitude behind these cuts by a comment he made a while ago comparing PIP benefits to pocket money. And though I have to say that he has since apologised, I think that's just quite emblematic of how people in this society and in the government still think of people who are disabled or people who need additional support. Like, disabled people are part of the fabric of society. We all know someone who experiences mental illness, has a disability, a chronic condition, or even a terminal condition. This is a reality, and disability and illness is part of everyday life. I actually tend to say that we're all pre-disabled. We all at some point will need support. And we all know someone, whether a friend, a relative, loved one, neighbour, colleague. And I just really strongly believe the state should be supporting us during these difficult times. And the government has historically not listened to disabled people. And I did this mainly because I finally wanted us to be heard, because I think so many people have been trying to have conversations with politicians and just not be heard. Disabled people's voice.
I thought that as well when I was watching it when they were live. Yeah. She does remind me of Lesbian Hot Sauce. Oh, by the way, I call her my favourite lesbian. Even though my sister's a lesbian. Different feelings towards my sister. But yeah, I love Lesbian Hot Sauce. She's awesome. Yeah, Gigi does look like Lesbian Hot Sauce. It's brilliant, isn't it? She's also disabled. Yeah. Like my extended family and my friends here in Glasgow, obviously you as well. Kev, Helena, Raptor, JFK Rotting, Tina 2, James for the motherfucking internet. Thanks, Kev, I like that one, it's quite funny. They all know I'm disabled. You all know I'm disabled. That's why I advocate for. The NHS is the hill I will die on. So I've explained as much as I can. I am brutally honest with my health. I tell everyone, so they know exactly what I'm going through. So give them leeway, of course. No ableism. Any ableism in the chat, bonk. Piss off. No ableism. But yeah, they've reversed the winter fuel allowance, which is basically a cash payout to pensioners so they can afford to heat their homes during the winter months when it's colder and stuff like that. I get it through the Scottish Government. It might only be, it's £58.75 that I get. But I get it in February, essentially. Good top up. We've had 2 so far. So I'll be getting the 3rd one in February next year. The first one went fully into the gas to heat the home because we've gas central heating, electric cooker. The second one, we split it in half. Half of it went in, 30 of it went into each of them, 15 in the gas and 15 in the electric. The other 28, which Super Herbie topped up to 30 essentially, we spent that on food. And the next one, depending on how bad winter is, I might just go back into the gas. Christ, frog in my throat. Sorry about that. So we do get kind of looked after here. The gas prices here and the electric prices we pay here, even though we're 112% renewable capacity for our electricity here in Scotland. So the excess, because we get charged to put electric onto the national grid here in the UK, we said, no, fuck that. Why are you charging us? We could actually power the entire country with this. Out of the 100% that we get left after we sell the extra percentage to Norway, and they use it. They use it to power their electric grid and their electric trains and buses and stuff. Good for them. They pay us for that 12%. So the other hit, we don't even use the 100%. We use 87 or something. 87% is enough to basically power Scotland for electricity, which usually happens, but we still get charged more for marginal pricing. Whatever's more expensive, gas obviously, we get charged that, a percentage of it's 90%. We get charged that for our electric, even though we're completely renewable up here in Scotland. We get scalped. So the 87% that we use out of the 100, that's basically left for it. That gets left. It gets charged at 300% or something, 250, 260% more for what we should be getting charged. Yeah, that makes sense. Fucking hell. God. Neoliberalism fucking sucks. Oh, sweetie, how are things in LA? I might actually check in, but I'll ask you first.
Voices are always fobbed off, and that's how it feels. We've historically just not been listened to. And this current proposition, these disability cuts, could push hundreds of thousands of people into economic hardship. And people are already in economic hardship. So I believe the number could be 300,000 people could be pushed into economic hardships if these proposed cuts go through. And I also do want to say that it already is much more expensive to be disabled. So I think it's estimated around £1,000 extra a month on all the living costs associated with disability. And by the way, the highest amount of...
This support I'm wearing, £5, Amazon. No neoprene, thank God, because allergic. It is good. What ancestry is Cappy? If you don't mind me asking. You don't need to answer that. Or I can ask Cappy later. I could DM her actually. I'm keeping an eye on it. The one that I'm going to get more information on it is Redolent, because obviously he's in LA. He's actually there. A bit away from where all this situation is happening. But he obviously, because he lives in the area or next to the area, he's keeping everyone that comes into his stream updated on what's actually happening, which is good. Thank you, Redolent Thought. Much appreciated. Do you like Redolent? I do love him. He is one of the perfect bald guys. She is born there. She is an American citizen. That's what needs to get told to the Trump administration. Mind you, they've already deported. Was it Khalil? Or detained him. Naturalised, not born in the States, but naturalised, became a citizen. Fucking dystopian, man. Fuck.
PIP doesn't cover that. So £1,000 is not possible to get on PIP. And most people get a much smaller amount than that. And I also think another huge misconception around...
When I was on PIP, Personal Independence Payment, by the way, from here on out I'll call it PIP, that's run by the Department of Work and Pensions, which is a UK government office essentially. It's based down in Caxton House in London. So that is basically administered by the Westminster government. And Liz Kendall is the Work and Pension Secretary. I hate her. She is awful. But my PIP got ended and I'm on adult disability payment. I was on, I'll say what my amount was on PIP. It was £249.95 a month, which is fucking nothing, essentially, for all the stuff that I need to live. Like supports, better food, heat sprays, gels for my skin condition and stuff because of the patches I wear. Food that's not going to disrupt my lower GI tract, let's put it that way, let's be polite. So £250 essentially is fucking nothing. I have moved up a bit. I am more than that now, thank God, because the Scottish government actually treat disabled people with respect and say, all right, you've got all these problems, you need all of this stuff, have that amount a month, which is fucking awesome. I do appreciate it. So luckily, I am out of the PIP sphere now, which is good, which she is going after. So in a little way, I'm disconnected, but because of the block grant that the Scottish Government get to pay for everything, to make everything run up here, decisions might have to be made if Scottish Labour win the Holyrood elections in May next year. I'm going to make sure that doesn't fucking happen because Anas Sarwar is a dick. I don't like him at all. He can fuck off. Yeah, fuck ice. Seriously, dystopian. Fuck this timeline. It is fucking shit and getting fucking scary. I can educate people. I can get stuff and tips from Super Hubby because he is differently minded. Let's say that. So I will, if anyone needs any sort of tactics, let's put it that way, reach out to me. We can make this all private. I'm on WhatsApp, by the way, and you can talk to me. Anyone within reason. I will give it out to a select few first. So, if you need any, obviously I'm good healthcare wise. I can give you food recipes, things like that, different sorts of diets to help, tricks on how to deal with like leg cramps and stuff like that. But he is more, let's say, military minded. Oh, he was a cadet when he was a teenager, by the way. Not that you would ever join the British Army. Good for him.
These cuts or disability benefits, especially PIP, is that it's an out of work benefit. A lot of people who are on PIP still do work, and in fact, PIP allows them to work. And, I think part of this rhetoric, or part of the reason that government want to cut disability benefits, as well as the fact that they're making cuts in other parts of government, is trying to push people back into work, because they're saying there's too many people out of work. And I'm telling you, this is not going to work, because PIP allows people to work. PIP is a lifeline for people to be able to work, whether that be through transport, mobility aids, healthcare access. PIP is not an out-of-work benefit, and that's something that people really, really need to understand, and it's not going to push people back into work. And I think just one additional thing, if I may say, recently there was some leaks around some potential access to work changes, which is...
I'll explain this one. Access to work is a resource, it's a fund that disabled people can apply to. The biggest expenditure, the biggest people who claim for stuff are blind and deaf. So like hearing aids, specialised glasses, nearsighted people who can kind of see with different sort of eye problems, screen filters, ergonomic keyboard, better mouse, better voice to text equipment, things like that. So people who are essentially physically capable of going to work, like they don't have any physical infirmities like joint issues or arthritis or mobility issues, they're just blind and deaf. So hearing blah 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 blah. That is the main expenditure. The smallest expenditure is for people like me who need mobility aids. It's called a Zimmer frame over here, or a walker, splint supports, back braces, things like that. That is the smallest amount. It's 0.3% of that access to work funding, essentially, from the DWP. So being able to get nearsighted and blind people to stay in their jobs, or deaf people to have better hearing aids. The next one down, that's the main expenditure. The next one down is mobility car. So cars that are made for people who have physical infirmities, like people like who have had amputations, paraplegics, things like that, or like either whole leg amputations with prosthetics, or below knee is the most prevalent one. Foot replacements, so from just above the ankle and a prosthetic foot, or a prosthetic leg, like the shin one below the knee. And cars adapted for people who need that to get to their job. Can see, can hear, can talk, can smell, blah blah blah. They just have a limb missing, or arm below elbow is common. Mostly in former soldiers, oddly enough. IEDs, be bastards. The next one down is improvements for the home, like rails to get in and out of the use your bathroom, use your facilities in your home, specifically designed cookers, aids for around the home, stuff like that. An adaptive bath, or changing your bathroom to like a wet room so you have a shower instead of a bath, things like that. The smallest amount is spent on people like me who need splints, braces, stuff like that. Mine's is mostly internal, so I need pain management and things to help my nerves work better and to shield my stomach, essentially, because the lower part of my stomach and the top part of my intestines has been kind of fucked by the NSAIDs I've been on. For nearly 20 years I was on those. So my lower gut is an absolute fucking mess. Ugh. So I have no problem with people having that, getting better screen filters for their screens when they go into their job. Hearing aids, for Christ's sake. What are they, a couple of £1,000 or something? Probably less than that, depends on how bad your hearing loss is. They don't need to cut, if you get rid of that facility, that funding, you're going to take away people away from work. Then you're going to cut their benefits, so they can't afford their hearing aids, or their adaptive screens, or their voice-to-text facilities. Make it make sense, please. It's just dumb. It's just fucking daft. Maybe I should write a letter to Liz Kendall. And Wes Streeting as well, our Health and Social Care Minister. Or Secretary. Christ, I hate Wes Streeting. Ugh.
The access to work is part of the government's access for people to be able to access work, and they can get job coaches. You can get some support in terms of like mobility aids or workplace changes to make it more accessible. And these cuts, these changes, these linked changes would have an even more worrying effect on disabled people's access to work. So it's really, really a worrying time, and I just felt like something had to be done about it, or I wanted to put my voice out there.
What's the response been like? I mean, did you hear anything back from the government or any official? But also, what's the response been like from, the members of the public?
Yeah, so we did reach out to Darren Jones for comment, and he has not got back to us. We have been ignored, which I'm not that surprised about, to be honest. And in terms of the feedback from the public, it has been widely really, really positive. I will say that I think a lot of people really appreciated it. But there has been a minority, but kind of quite a substantial minority, if that makes sense, of people backlashing. And because I appear able-bodied, people, a lot of comments have been around the fact that I don't look disabled, that I look fine, that I've had comments being like, if she can hold up a banner and walk out the room, then she should be able to work. That there was a good 200 comments, perhaps more, commenting on the fact that I look able-bodied. And I think that, again, is really emblematic of how far we still have to go with the public understanding of disability. So between 70 to 80% of disabilities are invisible. So you just can't see it. You cannot see it. And despite the fact that, like on the London Underground, you'll still see little signs saying not all disabilities are visible, and you see that on toilet doors, etc. We still just have a really long way to go for people to truly understand that. And I think the response to this video really showed me, like, wow, we have to do a lot more campaigning and awareness of the fact that the majority of disabilities are invisible, but that does not mean that they're any less disabling.
Do you think then, given that there is a wide misconception of people with disabilities, as you mentioned, 70 to 80% of people have disabilities that are invisible, right? That the entire media is not covering disability rights and activism enough, and not just the mainstream media, but actually even left-wing media. Do you think that they're still being ignored a lot, and progressive left-wing media needs to do more?
Oh, 100%. I really, really do think that disabled voices are not being heard enough. Again, as you said, not just in the mainstream media, but also in progressive left-wing outlets. I do really think that it's the job of especially the left-wing media, who are obviously covering a lot of progressive issues, to make sure that disabled people's voices are being heard, that people who experience mental illness and all types of disability, because obviously disability is one word which covers so many different experiences, but we need our voices to be heard more 100%. And, you know, I'm glad to be seeing some of it. I am seeing some outlets slowly start to talk about it more. And I'm hopefully this will be a bit of a domino effect right now, because obviously it's so present and salient in society what's happening right now in the UK. I'm hoping that this will springboard the media to start talking about it more and to start spotlighting the issues that are facing disabled people more.
So you were there on behalf of Green New Deal, Rising and Mad Youth. Can you tell us a little bit about these campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. So Green New Deal are a youth movement, and they are fighting for a Green New Deal. So that's a bold plan essentially to stop the climate crisis and tackle inequality through mass public investment. We know this, we need to fund the public investment, and one of the big ways that Green New Deal are wanting to do that is through fair taxation. So that means asking the super rich to pay their fair share. And they have just launched their Pay Up campaign to demand the government introduce wealth taxes on.
I will be back momentarily, comrades. Bear with me.
on the booming fortunes of the super rich. So stop cuts and invest in climate action, affordable homes, good schools, good hospitals, and an economy where everyone can thrive. And Mad Youth Organise is a campaign led by young people with lived experience of mental distress and madness, so myself included in that. And we are organising to build a collective response to the crisis we're facing, and we're calling out the corporate drivers of the youth mental health crisis and the systemic issues that are contributing to the worsening state of mental illness and mental health in the UK. Right now, as you can tell by the protests we just did, we're directing our energy towards organising to oppose the cuts to disability benefits, as they will disproportionately impact young people and young people who live with mental illness.
I just want to finally ask you, is this something that you expected from a Labour government?
I mean, absolutely not. I think I'm not alone in being totally horrified in the consistent U-turns that the government has been doing since coming into power. It's certainly not, I think, the Labour Party that most people voted in, and it's not the Labour Party that a lot of us have ever imagined would end up being the Labour Party. And I think it's really, really saying how disillusioned people are becoming of Labour, and the trust is being lost at a really alarming rate. And it's really worrying. There's no doubt that it has a strong correlation with the rise in reform and the rise in far-right sentiment as a backlash to this. It's incredibly disappointing and, to be honest, really, really terrifying.
I have to say, fair play to Gigi. I think it takes guts to really stand up, especially to an MP. In front of those people, you're putting yourself out there. So I have a lot of respect for Gigi. That comment as well by Darren Jones about PIP being pocket money. I know he apologised, but it was absolutely disgusting. Should have never been said in the first place. Kevin, what?
You are about to see a mad, hairy Brummie. Kev is awesome. We love Kev here. It's Dan, it's not pocket money. That comment he said is absolutely abhorrent. Dan Jones. Screw you. Enough said.
What do you make of this challenge to Darren Jones?
I loved it, and I want to say thank you to Gigi for having the bravery and the backbone to stand up like this, because I think we need much more of this. Because if Darren Jones, who for me sums up the kind of briefcase bureaucrat wanker that's destroying this country, if people like him, who just because he's wearing a suit and tie get away with social murder, we need to make sure these people, whenever they're out in public, they never know a day's peace again in their lives. If they're going to insist on stamping down on the least powerful and the least able to defend themselves whilst doing the bidding of the richest constantly, if they're going to aid and abet the genocide of the people of Gaza, if they're going to oversee the country's destruction, both in terms of its physical infrastructure and its kind of, social infrastructure, these people should never know a day's peace ever again. I want to see far more of this, far more direct action to show them how disgusted we are with them, how unpopular they are, and how they need to change their policies fundamentally. And so, big up to Gigi and those organisations. We need a lot more of that.
Yeah, and speaking to Gigi, because I asked him about the public response to. I mean, obviously, we can talk about the policy. We can talk about Darren Jones. We know that Labour's policy on PIP and welfare is nothing short of disgusting. But the public response, I mean, Gigi told me there's been a lot of positive response, but the loud minority was saying, well, you're clearly not disabled, right? You're scrounging. And they made a very good point that it's not always visible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mental health is, really the great health scourge of the nation that just goes completely untreated. Government after government will make kind of nice noises about it around election time and then invest absolutely nothing in it. We basically don't have a mental health care system in this country. And as to the point you made there about the loud minority, there really is an element within this country of the crabs in the bucket type thing, the people who are constantly trying to drag down others. But also, I feel slightly sorry for a lot of those people too, because they're as big a victims of the manufacturing consent machine as anybody else. They've been taught all of their lives that these people who are desperate in society are actually scroungers. Rather than being the victims of the society, they are somehow the benefactors of the society. And accordingly, they vote against their own best interests constantly. That's why the Conservative Party have ever received any votes in this country, and why the Reform Party are currently leading in the polls, because the media sells the British public a pack of lies.
And also, in terms of visibility and disabilities, there's also physical disabilities that aren't always visible. Sometimes when it comes to chronic illness or anything like that, it's not always like constant 24/7. Sometimes it can flare up and be worse than others. So people might be like, well, this person's clearly able-bodied. They're actually quite athletic. And
that narrative gets on my fucking tits from the politicians. It does. Oddly enough, they can actually tell because I don't walk right. I'm not exactly... well, I'm not straight anyway, I'm bisexual. I'm not exactly straight and upright. I walk with a kind of slant. I look. The word jaunty has been said to me before. I would have said skew-if. Kind of leaning to one side or the other, depending on what thing's hurting more. I can't change the autoimmune diseases within me. I can't. It's not... People are researching, don't get me wrong. But a lot of my things are actually all inside. You can't actually tell. Oh no, you must be able to work. Look at your makeup, it looks perfect and stuff. Fuck off, do you know how long it takes me to do my makeup? You idiot. On average, it usually takes me about 25 to half an hour to do my face, to do my war paint. But I've got lots of fucking issues that no one can see unless they want to jump inside my body if they want. I wouldn't recommend it, really. It's a fucking shit show in here. But yeah, there's a lot of disabilities you can't actually see. You can't actually see the actual things that we're going through because they're all... Mine are mostly internal. Obviously, if I break anything or fracture anything, you'll see me wearing a splint or well, they don't really... They still do casts, still get plaster casts put on and stuff like that. But I use supports or splints. I have braces for both my knees. I have a variety of ankle supports and braces because ankles be gubbed. So a lot of this you can't actually see on the outside of the person. But you look fine to me. I'm not. Trust me. Fuck off. I doubt I'd be good in any fucking workplace now. I don't think I would be. I suppose I could work remotely if they fucking forced me to. Should be able to do that. Need better internet for that though. Yeah. But I can't go back in a workplace. Especially now that I'm on blood thinners. If I get banged or fall down anything or get trapped in a lift or something like that, I'm in serious fucking danger of major blood clots now or bleeding out if I get caught. No thank you. I'm not putting my life in danger just to get back into work or to get forced back into a situation I really shouldn't be in. Christ, these fucking ghouls.
Again, like, I do kind of sympathise with those who are sort of being propagandised, or not even propagandised, who just don't realise, because obviously, you know, to someone who doesn't know much about disabilities and about the work that activists do and awareness of it, you know, you can understand the logic by saying, you know, you look at someone who clearly is physically abled and they're saying they're disabled and you go, well, clearly they're not. It's an ignorant, like, point of view to have. It's why it's so important to sort of platform these issues.
It is, absolutely. Although, of course, it's worth bearing in mind that the government's plans include people who are obviously going to be very visibly disabled as well. people who literally can't clean below their own waist without assistance. That's not something that one can really hide all that well. Yeah, so it's the government are going to go after everybody because all disabled people, I should say, because this is not about helping out anybody. I mean, Gigi made the very good point that this won't help disabled people back into work, but of course the point is that it's not meant to. It's just meant to be punitive. It's just meant to attack the least able to fight back in society, rather than putting a tiny amount of tax on the absolutely grotesque amounts of money being stockpiled by the richest 100 people in the country.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.
Transvestigated the Pope. Yes, the Pope. The first ever American Pope. Bio-female skull. Because they can see through skin now. Honestly, nobody is safe from transvestigators. Although, I guess the Pope did change his name. That's a pretty trans thing to do.
ICE agents arrived at the field you see behind me earlier this morning. In fact, according to a couple of farm workers we had a chance to talk to, ICE agents arrived right around 6 o'clock this morning. Cell phone video that was...
Right, if you lovely comrades, lovely people here can read this. This is from More Perfect Union. ICE is deliberately targeting the people who make sure we have food on our plates. ABC 7 Eyewitness News. ICE agents arrived at a produce farm in Ventura County at 6 a.m. Tuesday and were seen chasing workers to detain them. What the fuck? Wild. Absolutely fucking off the scale. What the fuck, America?
Posted online right after the raid show ICE agents chasing after some of the workers. ICE hasn't said how many people they detained at this raid earlier today. The agriculture industry in Ventura County is a $2 billion a year industry. That's billion with the B, so raids like this could have a significant impact on what's planted and picked here. One of the workers didn't want us to show his face while he talked to us. Another one was okay with us showing her face, but not giving us her name. One of the workers described what he saw when they arrived to work this morning, and the other talked about the anxiety of coming to work because you don't know if ICE will be coming to your Ventura County field while you're working. Here's what they had to say.
Nomás en la mañana vimos un carro cuando estábamos en la orilla, vimos un carro venía el coche y los ICE estaban persiguiendo el coche.
A mi temor mío es de que a veces por la necesidad nos obliga a presentarnos a trabajar a donde haya trabajo, pero por todo lo que está sucediendo es un poco difícil para nosotros.
In a written statement to Eyewitness News, a spokesperson for the United Farm Workers Foundation says they're taking innocent people who are trying to build their own American dream. This is not law enforcement. It's a campaign of fear against people whose only crime is living and working in the U.S. This is an injustice, and we are calling on our elected officials to speak out and protect their community members. Again, no word on how many people were detained here at this field. Reporting from Camarillo, I'm Sid Garcia, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Right, so as the crew of the Freedom Flotilla Madlin still languish in Israeli detention.
Shanna, are you here? What part of California is Ventura County? If you know, if you don't worry. I'll check. I'm just wondering if you know where that is. That is fucking wild, man. What the hell? Fuck. I know most of the arable, where it gets planted, farmed, grown, picked, is in Southern California, essentially. Kind of down that bit. Where all the fertile land is. To grow all the things, whatever things. Ties, onions, peppers, like bell peppers, chilies, stuff like that. Fruit as well, probably. Oranges, citrus fruit, pomegranate maybe. I know the where Cambries are going are mostly outside of California. So, no. You need these people to do this work. You need the people to pick the mushrooms, like a cremini and white mushrooms, close caps, things like that. But like your bell peppers, your avocados, your potatoes, your onions, your tomatoes, your citrus fruit, all of those things, your salad leaves, your romaine, which most people don't like now. Mine's is fine. I like romaine. I'm more pepper and radicchio, really. I like peppery tasting things. Pepper is the best seasoning ever. Black pepper and white, and telecherry, which is kind of more spicier. But that's from India and Southeast Asia. You need the people to pick those things, make sure they're grown right, make sure all they're called drills here in Scotland, or the lines of veg or fruit that go to the horizon. You need people to pick those, pack them up, send them to your supermarkets, Trader Joe's, Walmart, places like that, Costco, wherever. Kroger's, Albertsons, Publix if you're in California, in Florida. So you need these people to do all that to get it to your fruit and veg market or your supermarket. This makes no fucking sense to me. Mind you, Tangerine Bob doesn't make any sense to me either. Neither does most of his fucking cabinet. Funny that. Okay, Damo, take it away. This is a lovely Cornish man called Damo. He is awesome. He is a Green Party member and he's a councillor and a YouTuber. Damo is based. We love Damo.
Having been kidnapped in an act of piracy in international waters, the land flotilla they have inspired, the Samud convoy, has passed from Algeria through Tunisia, picking up more activists on the way, and entered Libya yesterday to great fanfare with the push onto Egypt underway. At time of writing, hopefully reaching Cairo at some point later today, as long as Egypt don't block matters. Because Israel are demanding President Sisi jump when they tell him to, apparently having issued him orders to stop the convoy. Whilst this has not been confirmed or denied to the convoy itself, deportations are being reported from Egypt that imply Sisi may be following Israeli orders, and if so, it will detonate any belief that he is truly working to...
Okay, obviously, Israeli flag, Egyptian flag, lines of cars, people, desperate people, who are getting bombed the fuck out of.
...was a solution in the interests of the Palestinians, despite all the reconstruction plans and mediation efforts that had come from Egypt previously, that nation has won a lot of praise for. Israel, for its part, though, seems terrified. The IDF having been ordered to defend the Rafah crossing from protesters walking across the desert towards them, unarmed and peacefully. Well, how dare they? But shining a light on Israeli atrocity in numbers never before seen. But will Egypt actually let them get that far? Right, so as the genocide of Gaza continues to tighten into an ever-growing humanitarian nightmare, a vast movement of people is mounting an unprecedented challenge. Not from the sea this time, as with the Freedom Flotilla, are across the scorching deserts and state borders of North Africa. The Samud convoy, the ground-based, large-scale version of the Madeleine aid mission, is now surging towards Cairo with more than 1,500 activists and thousands more supporters from over 50 countries flying out to join them in solidarity to break the deadly blockade on Gaza. But as they push forward, they face not just the hostility of Israel and the walls of Gaza, but potentially the cowardice and complicity of Egypt, whose regime appears, according to some reports, to be more concerned with appeasing Tel Aviv than defending regional humanitarianism. The Samud convoy, steadfastness as that word translates to from the Arabic, is now well over 1,500 strong, left Tunis on June the 9th, inspired directly by the Freedom Flotilla mission led by the Madeleine, much of the crew from which still being held in appalling conditions in Israel. The convoy features activists, medical workers, students and journalists travelling by vehicle in a monumental attempt to reach the Rafah border crossing, Gaza's only entry point from Egypt. Despite the political instability of Libya, fears, as I certainly had voiced amongst others, the convoy was met yesterday instead with scenes of jubilation and support upon arriving in the Libyan capital of Tripoli. Crowds handed the activists food, water, even free fuel to push on towards Egypt, given despite widespread shortages at that, illustrating profound grassroots solidarity with Palestine and the people standing up for them at a time of dire need. Contrary to fears that Libya's conditions might threaten the convoy's progress, the people there rallied to it instead, and I've never been happier to have my fears proven wrong. The symbolism is truly staggering when you think about it, though, compared to wealthier Western nations. A broken country offering more than wealthy functioning states like ours here in the UK, for instance. The convoy now moves on towards Cairo, where thousands more activists have begun arriving by air to join the movement. Supporters flying in from 54 different countries, aiming to form a single mass of coordinated action. Together with those arriving by land, they plan to assemble in Cairo before embarking on a massive protest march. Beginning Thursday, today, time of writing, the plan is for the convoy, augmented by those thousands of international allies who are flying in, to travel by bus for the 350 kilometres from Cairo to the Sinai. Once in the Sinai, they'll begin a grueling 3-day walk across 50 kilometres of desert, culminating in their arrival at Rafah on Sunday. That day will mark the beginning of a large-scale, multi-day protest titled March of the Free. Their core demands are an immediate end to the siege of Gaza, the full access for humanitarian...
Oh, for fuck's sake. Hopefully it'll work. If you can find me a link, Manchita, please do. And you can just post it into the chat and I'll go and check it. Or if you want to look through YouTube on news or something and send me the link or tell me what outlet it's from, we can show that next. For fuck's sake. I know there's no fucking chance of this happening. For fuck's sake, Donald, please control Israel. I know you've got hawkish fucking ghouls in your cabinet and in the wider scope of the Oval Office and stuff like that, but for fuck's sake, don't fucking do that. Get them to stop. Unless you fucking gave them permission to do this fucking bollocks. For Christ's sake. Axiom and Reuters. Cool, that should be easy to find on YouTube, hopefully. Or I'll go onto my Google News app and look for it there and read it. Or read it out. Thank you, Manchita. Rejoice, comrades. Manchita has arrived. Hello, comrades. Mwah. Much appreciated. Glad to see you. Oh, for fuck's... Go away, Nightbot. Time out. Don't worry about that. I will make sure you are well covered, Manchita. You are more than welcome here. And thank you for the link. Much appreciated. Do you know Demo? Have you seen Demo? I encourage you to go to Colonel Demo on YouTube. He is awesome. He is a Green Party member. He's down in, well, Colonel. Demo's brilliant. I love him. Take it away, Demo.
In aid, accountability for Israeli war crimes,
Oh, you've just
protection
arrived.
of the
I'll put it back to the
sovereignty of
beginning so you can
protest and
hear.
civil resistance, global pressure on governments to stop enabling Israel's occupation as well. Right, so as the crew of the Freedom Flotilla Madeleine still languish in Israeli detention, having been kidnapped in an act of piracy in international waters, the land flotilla they have inspired, the Samud convoy, has passed from Algeria through Tunisia, picking up more activists on the way, and entered Libya yesterday to great fanfare, with the push onto Egypt underway. At time of writing, hopefully reaching Cairo at some point later today, as long as Egypt don't block matters. Because Israel are demanding President Sisi jump when they tell him to, apparently having issued him orders to stop the convoy. Whilst this has not been confirmed or denied to the convoy itself, deportations are being reported from Egypt that imply Sisi may be following Israeli orders, and if so, it will detonate any belief that he is truly working towards a solution in the interests of the Palestinians, despite all the reconstruction plans and mediation efforts that have come from Egypt previously that nation has won a lot of praise for. Israel, for its part, though, seems terrified. The IDF having been ordered to defend the Rafah crossing from protesters walking across the desert towards them, unarmed and peacefully. Well, how dare they? But shining a light on Israeli atrocity in numbers never before seen. But will Egypt actually let them get that far? Right, so as the genocide of Gaza continues to tighten into an ever-growing humanitarian nightmare, a vast movement of people is mounting an unprecedented challenge. Not from the sea this time, as with the Freedom Flotilla, but across the scorching deserts and state borders of North Africa. The Samud convoy, the ground-based large-scale version of the Madeleine aid mission, is now surging towards Cairo with more than 1,500 activists and thousands more supporters from over 50 countries flying out to join them in solidarity to break the deadly blockade on Gaza. But as they push forward, they face not just the hostility of Israel and the walls of Gaza, but potentially the cowardice and complicity of Egypt, whose regime appears, according to some reports, to be more concerned with appeasing Tel Aviv than defending regional humanitarianism. The Samud convoy, steadfastness as that word translates to from the Arabic, is now well over 1,500 strong, left Tunis on June the 9th, inspired directly by the Freedom Flotilla mission led by the Madeleine, much of the crew from which still being held in appalling conditions in Israel. The convoy features activists, medical workers, students and journalists travelling by vehicle in a monumental attempt to reach the Rafah border crossing, Gaza's only entry point from Egypt. Despite the political instability of Libya, fears, as I certainly had voiced amongst others, the convoy was met yesterday instead with scenes of jubilation and support upon arriving in the Libyan capital of Tripoli. Crowds handed the activists food, water, even free fuel to push on towards Egypt, given despite widespread shortages at that, illustrating profound grassroots solidarity with Palestine and the people standing up for them at a time of dire need. Contrary to fears that Libya's conditions might threaten the convoy's progress, the people there rallied to it instead, and I've never been happier to have my fears proven wrong. The symbolism is truly staggering when you think about it, though, compared to wealthier Western nations. A broken country of...
I'll just preempt Demo a minute here. These people will be crossing just part of the Sinai, which is a desert, kind of inhospitable, and they're going to be making a 3-day march to the Rafah Gate, to the Rafah border in Egypt. Good for them, but still mad. I won't be able to do it, obviously, but solidarity to them. Carry on. Make sure you've got enough water, please. Snacks, the sun where it is during this time of year, especially in Northern Africa, the lower Mediterranean, the African coast, and into the Sinai and up to the Rafah border. Goo. Take plenty water. Okay. That is my advice. Snacks help. Music. Being able to talk to people. coordinate what you're going to do once you get to the Rafah Gate. Fantastic. Carry on. Hope you make it through the desert. I don't know desert. I live in Scotland. It is very rainy here and windy. And currently, kind of hot. Oh, Shanasfiri got up to 22 today here. It just started raining about, what's that one? An hour ago, roughly? 2 hours ago? Back 11, yeah, 2 hours ago. So it's raining now, but it was dry, cloud cover, still kind of hot for us Scots, well, especially for me. I don't do well with heat. Moist, humid heat, so Southeast Asia, parts of South Africa, parts of Central America, parts of the Sun Belt in the States. I'm not good to man nor beast in those sorts of conditions, and there's many reasons why I want to go and don't want to go to Florida. I think, Shanna, you can think of some of them. Good for them. Carry on. I will have you in my hearts and in my minds. Get to that Rafah border. Go on. Fucking amazing.
Offering more than wealthy functioning states like ours here in the UK, for instance. The convoy now moves on towards Cairo, where thousands more activists have begun arriving by air to join the movement. Supporters flying in from 54 different countries, aiming to form a single mass of coordinated action. Together with those arriving by land, they plan to assemble in Cairo before embarking on a massive protest march. Beginning Thursday, today, time of writing, the plan is for the convoy, augmented by those thousands of international allies who are flying in, to travel by bus for the 350 kilometres from Cairo to the Sinai. Once in the Sinai, they'll begin a grueling 3-day walk across 50 kilometres of desert, culminating in their arrival at Rafah on Sunday. That day will mark the beginning of
25 or 26 miles. According to Super Hubby, 25 miles you can do in one day. He is talking bollocks. He might be able to do that. I can't. So like 25 miles, rough, I would say 25 miles. 3 days across the desert. If you're physically capable and fit to do that, with all the water, yeah, carry on. Fans might be a good idea as well. Either a little mini battery powered ones, or just a classic fan, like pretty looking fan. Sunblock, sunscreen, factor 1,000,000. The highest I've heard of is factor 100. Ah! Rejoice comrade, story girl, lovely Australian comrade has arrived. Hi Gemma, how are you doing? So it's about 30 miles across the Sinai. Good for them, good luck. Remember the water. Thanks darling. Hello as well. Hope you're doing well. It's Friday there for you, isn't it? Right, what's that? Half one, basically. My God. Was it the afternoon for you? Hopefully this won't dox you. How are things in Adelaide? How's the weather in Adelaide? Or Radelaide? Right. We're getting into summer. Oh, right, it's still morning. Good morning, Gemma. Hello. I can say good morning here as well, kind of, even though it's late night. Take your pick. Technically morning, technically. It's still fuck off o'clock for some people. I like that one. Fuck off o'clock. Sounds good, especially for working people. technically, I might be working right now. Because I do get paid to do this. Kind of, a bit. Oh, my payment's been processed. I should be getting it by the weekend. Yay! Money! Not that much. I'm not going to tell you how much. But money. Yay. Fantastic.
Of a large-scale, multi-day protest titled March of the Free. Their core demands are an immediate end to the siege of Gaza, the full access for humanitarian aid, accountability for Israeli war crimes, protection of the sovereignty of protest and civil resistance, global pressure on governments to stop enabling Israel's occupation as well. What began as a symbolic mission is becoming a massive logistical and moral campaign, and that very scale is precisely what is terrifying Israel so much. Israeli officials, sensing the convoy's potential to shame them under a global spotlight, shame them for their siege and their genocide and their war starvation, have responded not with diplomacy but with escalating threats. And these have not so much been aimed at the convoy itself, but at Egypt. Defence Minister Israel Katz has already announced that the IDF will not allow anyone to breach the blockade and is preparing forces to stop all movement towards Gaza. But his most alarming move has been diplomatic coercion, pressuring Egypt to...
Oh, see, that's reasonable. I like that. That is more my temperature range, essentially, from about 15 up to like 15 up to about 20 maybe, depending on the cloud cover and stuff like that. That is reasonable. We're getting into summer, so you're currently in autumn then, aren't you? Winter for us, summer for you, spring for us. Summer, autumn for us would be spring, winter for you is summer. See, look, reasonable temperatures. I like that. That is good. Seriously, I'm not built for hot weather. There's certain countries I can't go. Well, there's certain countries I can't go into because of my medication. And there's probably a good few countries that I can't go into because of my politics. Although it doesn't say on my passport that I'm a Marxist, obviously. Does it really bother? If I'm coming down for a holiday or going over for a holiday, I'm just there to relax. Have a cocktail, maybe a beer. Some local cuisine. Ah! I know I keep getting it mixed up. I should know. My sister-in-law, Super Hubby's older sister, lives in Sydney. Or just outside it. Hartsville? Hartsville, I think. She's a headmistress in all girls private Catholic school in Sydney. She will be retiring soon. I talked to Super Hubby's younger brother. He's the same year as me. I was born in March. His birthday was in... No! Younger brother, May. Is... Brother-in-law born in the same year as me. His birthday's next month. His birthday's in July. He's actually quite good now. He used to be a bit of a dick when he was younger. Aren't we all at sometimes? But he reached out to me and found me because he was on he was on a stream and found me chatting in the stream to people when he realised, hang on, Madcat79 Scotty, I think I know who that is. And he whispered me, "Hi Katie, I think you might know who I am." That was quite a turn up for the books. He's doing quite well. Good for him. Plus I know exactly where his house is. Oh! Is that a rail interchange? So's Glasgow Central and Glasgow Queen Street and so's Haymarket and Waverley in Edinburgh. Perth's the main interchange if you want to go either south down the east coast or south down to the west coast like Glasgow and Ayrshire and stuff like that, or up north to like Dundee, Aberdeen, Aviemore, Inverness, blah blah blah, all the way up that way. So our Perth is a rail interchange.
Ban the march entirely. Katz has openly claimed that Egypt has agreed to suppress the march, but organisers say they've received no confirmation or denial of this claim from Cairo either way, raising fears that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's government may be preparing to quietly betray the convoy and bend to Israel's will. This is no longer idle speculation either. Reports have emerged that Egypt have already begun deporting people who arrived to join the march, particularly...
If Sisi caves, he'll be getting... the reason he'll be doing that, if he does it, will be unbelievable pressure from the global hegemon. Because quite a lot of funding from the States goes into Israel. Funny that. I thought they weren't imperialists. That's just utter bollocks, obviously. But yeah, if he's going to basically break, it'll be from pressure from the States. And probably Israel as well to a certain extent. Oh! Thank you, darling. May I assume that you have been to Sydney in your life? Super happy still got all his photos and stuff when he was there. He was there for a month to visit. He didn't need to worry about hotel or B&B or anything like that. He just stayed at his sister's house. Well, his sister and his brother-in-law, her husband. 3-bedroom flat. 4 stories up. Hilarious story. When he was there, they ordered a pizza, a big fuck-off pizza, because Super Hubby's brother-in-law is a greedy bastard. So they ordered a big fuck-off pizza, and because of the narrowness of the stairs to get up to their flat, the poor pizza delivery boy had to buzz up to the flat and say, I'm going to struggle to get these 2 pizzas up to you. Can someone come down and help me? Super Hubby went down and looked at the pizza box, the 2 pizza boxes, and thought, fuck, these pizza boxes are double the width of the stairs. So they figured out a way not to make the toppings and the cheese and everything slide off, because Super Hubby is clever like that. That was mental. Oh, did you, darling? Is Sydney fuck off expensive? I think most of the things down there are fuck off expensive, just like here.
Those suspected of associating with this convoy. According to the Quds News Network, authorities are acting preemptively out of fear that growing numbers of international activists could destabilize the region or provoke Israeli retaliation. But this deportation effort reveals more than a security concern. It reflects deep political cowardice. For years, President Sisi has attempted to cast himself as a diplomatic bridge between Israel and Palestine, a regional actor capable of dialogue with all sides, a mediator. But Egypt's long cooperation with Israeli border control, his allowing of Israel to violate peace accords with Egypt, and a statement released by the Resistance News Network appears to back all of this up now as well. Multiple sources corroborated reports that the Egyptian government has begun deporting members of the Resilience convoy who had arrived in Cairo by plane, primarily from Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria and France. Egyptian authorities stormed 2 hotels in Cairo, after which dozens of activists were arrested, interrogated and held against their wills pending deportation. This tactic of arresting righteous people who are answering Gaza's cries to the free people of the world and deporting them before they can deliver their aid is not new. It bears a striking resemblance to the abuse faced by the activists aboard the Madeleine, a ship of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, which the Zionists stormed, kidnapping its crew before deporting them. The passengers of the Madeleine were also forced to watch Zionist propaganda videos while in captivity. For its part, the Egyptian government issued a statement asking those who arrived as part of the Resilience Convoy to go through proper channels and obtain approval to head to the Rafah border crossing. No such permission has been granted. The Egyptian regime is a shameful and Zionist regime. Despite their diplomatic language and supposed position as a mediator, they have time and time again sided with the Zionist entity. This takes place with every moment that Egyptian authorities prevent humanitarian aid from reaching the Gaza Strip, where millions of people are confronting famine. Now with the Samud convoy drawing closer as well, Egypt's being tested like never before, and by the look of it, it is failing badly. Instead of allowing peaceful protest, it is allegedly conducting deportations, refusing transit, and potentially preparing to block the convoy from crossing into the Sinai. These moves are not acts of sovereignty, they're acts of submission. Submission to Israeli pressure, and they'll be seen exactly for just that. While the convoy marches on, however, far as it manages to get at this point in time, the fate of the Madeleine's detained crew remains rather dire. Although some were quickly deported, questions surrounding whether they will willingly sign deportation orders or not, others refused to sign such orders, asserting their legal right to protest and deliver aid, and as a result of that they became incarcerated. Tiago Avila, the Brazilian climate activist, is currently held in Ayalon prison in solitary confinement. According to his legal representatives, he has been on hunger and thirst strike since 4 a.m. on Monday and is being denied adequate medical supervision. Rima Hassan, a French member of the European Parliament, was reportedly punished for writing Free Palestine on her cell wall and also placed in solitary confinement. She has also begun a hunger strike now. Other detainees were reportedly mocked, humiliated and forcibly shown violent footage of attacks during interrogations. They've been locked in bug-infested cells, denied legal counsel and subjected to hours of sleep deprivation. The latest news on their well-being, according to the Freedom Flotilla Coalition themselves in a statement they released just yesterday, states that we have just been informed that Rima has been moved from solitary back to Givon. We have just been informed that Rima has been moved from solitary back to Givon. Tiago remains in solitary. News as of 6 p.m. Jerusalem time, Tiago Avila and Rima Hassan are now held in solitary confinement under punitive and inhumane conditions. Tiago was placed in isolation at Ayalon prison due to his ongoing hunger and thirst strike, which he began 2 days ago. He has also been treated aggressively by prison authorities, although this has not escalated to physical assault. Rima Hassan was placed in isolation under inhumane conditions in the Neve Tirza prison after writing Free Palestine on a wall in Givon prison. She was moved to a small, windowless cell with extremely poor hygienic conditions and has been denied access to the prison yard. The others remain illegally detained by Israeli authorities. Adala lawyers demand their immediate release and an end to retaliatory measures. Central to all of this humanitarian action is, of course, a blockade of aid, of starvation, hunger, weaponized against a captive population, a form of collective punishment, therefore a war crime. Israel's siege of Gaza has reached horrifying levels. Water, food, electricity, fuel, medical supplies, everything is either restricted to aid distribution centres located in militarized zones, making the very prospect of going there for aid lethal, or it is blocked entirely. Israeli officials have gone as far as calling their policy a form of economic warfare, and recent strikes on aid convoys and humanitarian zones have further highlighted the blockade's violent intent. So in this context, the actions of the Samud convoy, those joining them in Cairo, and the Madeleine crew as well, they're not symbolic gestures at all, despite the amount of aid they might have been carrying. They are direct confrontations with state-engineered suffering. What makes the Samud convoy different is not just the size of it, but its strategic clarity too. The convoy and those joining it from around the world understand that aid is not enough. Visibility is power too. When a convoy of thousands arrives at Rafah, the world will absolutely watch. When they are met by Israeli troops or Egyptian blockade, the moral lines this draws will become undeniable. So Israel is panicking about it. That is why Katz is trying to blackmail Egypt. That is why Egypt, it seems, is deporting peaceful activists, seemingly bowing to that pressure instead of standing tall against it. That's why Greta Thunberg was mocked, why Rima Hassan was locked away, and Tiago Avila as well. Because fear always lashes out when its grip is threatened. It's the move of cowards. If Egypt bars the Samud convoy from entering Sinai, or even Egypt itself, they'll be cowards too. And at time of writing, the convoy has not yet got that far. It will have publicly chosen the side of siege and starvation too. If it allows the march to proceed, it will have taken a first long overdue step back towards regional and international legitimacy. The Samud convoy must be permitted to complete its march. The siege of Gaza must end. Anything less will be a global failure to hold Israel accountable for its crimes, and those responsible must never be forgiven. Palestine has suffered enough. As I was finishing up writing this video, however, as it happens, more news has broken. That Egypt are indeed conducting mass deportations of people having flown in from the likes of Sweden and Morocco. So it looks like Sisi is backing Netanyahu at this point in time. I will be sure to follow this up as a result, so look out for that. In better breaking news has also come in, though. The remaining Madleen hostages have literally just been released and will fly home tomorrow now, having refused to sign anything Israel gave them. So great news there to end this video on. I'm sure you will agree. You can bet I will follow up both these stories as new details emerge. For more on the Samud convoy, how it came into being and its progress thus far, do check out this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch though. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping to support this channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people as I do, and I will hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers folks.
Thank you, Demo. Based. Very much appreciated.
These are absolutely shocking revelations. And if true, then Lord Cameron has to be...
Hamza Yusuf, SNP, former First Minister. His wife is a Palestinian.
Held to account. It's very simple. You either believe in the equal application of international law, or you don't believe in international law, full stop. I myself will be writing to the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Emily Thornberry, to ask that committee to investigate. We are talking about a matter of the utmost seriousness here.
Hamza Yusuf, thank you for speaking to Middle East Eye.
Always a pleasure.
We revealed on Monday that Lord Cameron, when he was British Foreign Secretary, threatened the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan that Britain would defund and withdraw from the ICC if it issued arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. A number of sources, including former staff in Karim Khan's office who have seen the minutes of the meeting, gave us the details. Cameron made this threat in a phone call to Khan on the 23rd of April 2024. Now, Lord Cameron hasn't responded to our request for comment, and the Foreign Office declined to comment. At the time of this phone call, you were the First Minister of Scotland, and you were heavily critical of the British government's strong support for Israel's war in Gaza. What is your reaction to this report that the British Foreign Secretary, according to our sources, threatened the ICC prosecutor?
These are absolutely shocking revelations. And if true, then Lord...
By the way, Hamza is a lawyer. He was a solicitor and a defence lawyer here in Scotland before he became a politician. Kind of mixed feelings about him. But the way he stands up for Palestine and everyone there, based. Love that.
Cameron has to be held to account. The fact that Lord Cameron hasn't responded, hasn't commented, definitely, of course, raises serious questions, rings alarm bells. But it's really important that this matter is investigated, to have a then serving British Foreign Secretary, who that, of course, the UK being a signatory to the Rome Statute, threatening to sanction, to defund the International Criminal Court, is not just shocking, it is a complete abdication of the UK's moral responsibility.
According to our sources, Lord Cameron told Karim Khan that applying for warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant would be like dropping a hydrogen bomb. He said the world is not ready for this. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's very simple. You either believe in the equal application of international law, or you don't believe in international law, full stop. So the British government really has to stand up for international law. We can't go around hectoring and lecturing the rest of the world about human rights and the importance of international law if our then serving Foreign Secretary allegedly was threatening to defund the ICC to sanction the International Criminal Court. And of course, as I say, international law must apply equally both to state parties and non-state parties. And if you believe it should apply to one set of people but not another set of people, then that clearly shows an agenda that you have and a vested interest at play.
Since our report, 10 British MPs have commented on it. Some have called for an inquiry into what happened. Do you agree?
I absolutely believe there should be an investigation. I myself will be writing to the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Emily Thornberry, to ask that committee to investigate. We are talking about a matter of the utmost seriousness here. We need to know whether a serving British Foreign Secretary at the time threatened to defund the International Criminal Court. Of course, I've seen the comments also from Francesca Albanese, who's of course a respected legal authority on these matters, saying that there could well be a criminal offence that is also committed in this regard as well. And I think ultimately, if this is proven to be true, these allegations, if they are true, then of course we would need to also investigate whether or not Lord Cameron is fit to continue to sit in the House of Lords, or whether he's breached the members' code of conduct.
And should Prime Minister Keir Starmer come up and distance himself from what Cameron is alleged to have done?
The way Keir Starmer has, I'm afraid, been too complicit in the genocide in Gaza that we're witnessing. At the time of speaking, of course, the UK continues to sell arms to Israel. Israel is, as we know, headed by a man that's wanted by the International Criminal Court. But all of that said, in any of the conversations that have been, interviews that have been made publicly by both Keir Starmer and the Foreign Secretary, they have said that they would stand by the ICC and international law. There would be no harm in reiterating that point, given the revelations that Middle East Eye have uncovered. But it is really important that any signatory to the party, and I believe anybody, any state in the world, must uphold international law, not be selective in our application of it.
You are the most high-profile political figure to have commented on this story. Although other MPs in the British Parliament have spoken about it, no mainstream British news outlet has yet covered this. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm afraid it betrays the awful silence that we've seen from too many in the British media establishment. Of course, they've covered the issues that have been ongoing in Gaza, but when it comes to the UK's complicity, both in terms of arms sales, but also its unwavering allyship to Israel as it committed acts of genocide, which has only recently changed. We've seen some harsher criticisms, the sanctions coming forward, which are to be welcomed, a step in the right direction, but not nearly enough. We have not seen really much from the British media in terms of, for example, the fact that more journalists have been killed in Gaza than in any other recent conflict. Where is the unity? Where is the solidarity from British journalists to those journalists in Gaza that have not lost their lives, but have been targeted and killed by the Israeli regime for simply reporting the truth? So I would love the British media in its broadest sense to not just cover what is happening kind of day to day, but examine the UK's complicity in a genocide that's taking place in front of our very eyes.
Hamza Yusuf, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, always a pleasure.
Let's talk about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Steve, how do you think things are going? Are we winning yet?
I gotta say, I am so excited that we finally put tariffs on those fucking penguins. The McDonald Islands have gotten away with it for too long. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, the McDonald Islands is just penguins, no people. There's no people. It's just a penguin colony. And there's a 10% tariff on that. And someone actually messaged me and they were like, hey, you know, you're kind of looking at that story wrong, because the reason the McDonald Islands are included is because there's a 10% default tariff on everyone else. And I replied back and I said, then why aren't Russia and North Korea on the list? If he can pick and choose who doesn't get the tariffs, then maybe he cannot tariff the fucking penguins. And it is so embarrassing that tariffing penguins is not the worst thing this week. When our national security was completely destroyed by adding a journalist to classified information signal, and that's not even a fucking story now.
All those MAGA bro incels.
This one. Because the other one's obviously Steve Hofstetter, that's why I clicked it. That's why I put it in my watch later. I know Steve. Steve is so fucking funny. I love him. Thank you, Manchita.
In their basements. Thank God they're experts now on classified information because they were educating me, Steve. I'm sure you probably benefited from many of the same responses. I mean, I know that if I ever wanted to send something that I wouldn't want the people I was going to be attacking to see, I would probably put them in a signal chat with a random reporter. I mean, that's just what I would do.
Right, so Keir Starmer's performative sanctioning of the extremist Israeli ministers Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir, along with Canada, Australia...
And back to Demo. You might see a lot of Demo in my stream. Darlin, come here a second. Why does that door keep on opening even though I'm sitting here? Can you check it for me? Is it because of that? Do I need to close the window? Mm-hmm. Okay. That was super happy. Still good, even though he's half asleep. Funny that. It's like he's used to it. I do need a lot of care. Take it away, Demo.
New Zealand and Norway, whilst a welcome move in and of itself, really doesn't change anything.
Oh no, when he's fully awake, he's a man of many words. But he still does... He uses his body language as well when he's half asleep. I'm a little bit different. A lot of my stuff a lot of the stuff in here in this form keeps me awake. I cope, don't worry. Below hips, my lips are sealed. But I describe all my joint and movement issues. So everyone knows. Treat me with respect. Or be nice. I'm fine. Yeah. Oh God, look at that. 3 absolutely scalpable faces. Ha! Bonk, bonk, bonk. There we go. Frying pan to the face to those 3 individuals. All 3 of them deserve it. Take that, Sir Keir. Fucking hell. I really don't like him. I really don't. I think this is going to be a one-term Labour. We are thinking coalition maybe. Oh, by the way, our next general election is 2029, so in 4 years. Probably around June or July. Our election last year was 4th of July. So fucking hilarious. So it'll be around then, at some point next year. So we've got Holyrood elections in May, local council elections in Scotland the same day. First Thursday in May, by the way, is penciled in to my diary for next year. Well, it's on my laptop and on my phone. Obviously don't have 2026 diary yet. but ostensibly written in for the first Thursday in May. Might be the same for Holyrood. It's probably going to be 5th or 6th of July 2029 for the next general election. Plus there's local council elections down in England and Wales next May as well. So that'll be fun. I'll be covering all of it. I'll probably go out of my mind. I'll probably be streaming for 10 plus hours trying to cover it. The polls close at 10 PM and I'll be going live just shortly after that, so like 10:15 or 10:30. Watch this space. You can watch me lose my mind and try not to pass out or rage at my screen. Who knows? Depends what happens. Watch this space.
It was never likely that either of these ministers would come to the UK. It's bad enough some Israeli politicians have done. But being the focal point of the religious and ideological backing for the genocide of Gaza as they are, for Starmer to ever invite these two is going to be a stretch, surely. Well, maybe not, because news has broken within 24 hours of these sanctions that has destroyed any notion that Starmer is taking any meaningful action here whatsoever. You see, up in Newcastle, there's a factory that since October 2023 has had a police presence protecting it that has cost us, via the public purse, over £200,000. The factory is an arms manufacturer, Pearson Engineering, that since 2022 has been wholly owned by the Israeli state. In fact, it is owned by the Ministry of Finance, and for those familiar with this department, you will know full well who the Minister of Finance for Israel actually is, who also happens to be a defence minister at that, so interest in an arms firm will be doubly important to them, because this minister is Bezalel Smotrich. Starmer sanctions the guy, but is still spending our money protecting his assets here in the UK. Make that make sense. Is his sanction really worth any weight at all? Right, so the UK government of Keir Starmer's got itself in a right old mess, and deservedly so, thoroughly self-inflicted. It's a pickle you probably haven't heard much about, though, because it's not like mainstream media are covering this story at all as per usual. It has imposed sanctions on Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. You will, no doubt, have heard about that. Accused of inciting extremist violence and human rights abuses, as they are banged to rights for. Yet, simultaneously, this government, and the one before it, under the Tories, it has to be said, have allocated hundreds of thousands of pounds from public coffers to shield an arms factory owned by Smotrich's ministry. This duplicity isn't merely bureaucratic inconsistency, it undermines the intent of these sanctions completely, performative as they were anyway.
Oh, by the way, my lovely friends, followers, subscribers, comrades, feel free to clip me. I need to fill up my clip library, so that'll be fun. I'm thinking of turning them into sound alerts. That'll be fun. So, clip away! If I say something daft, definitely clip. Because, obviously, mad Scottish woman. I might say something daft. I am prone to, actually.
Largely meaningless in and of themselves, done for optics. Does nothing to alleviate the pain felt by the people of Gaza right now at all. But it does raise urgent questions about state priorities, the coherence of UK foreign policy especially, or lack of it, and the silent complicity in Gaza's unfolding devastation that we here in the UK continue to be made a part of by this appalling pro-Israel government. So what do the sanctions actually do then? Well, supposedly the UK Foreign Office has imposed asset freezes, travel bans and director disqualifications on Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, citing their extremist rhetoric and policies advocating forced displacement of Palestinians, which absolutely do violate international law. The Foreign Secretary David Lammy has called their views monstrous, and he's absolutely right to have done that, condemning the intensified settler expansion supported by this Israeli coalition government, of which these two extremist ministers are part of. Lamy's word would carry a lot more weight, though, if he weren't so happy to go to Israel and press the flesh and take large donations from pro-Israel sources, however. His register of interests does make for fascinating reading, incidentally. But these sanctions followed pressure from human rights organisations and cross-party MPs, including over 600 jurists, warning against fueling a genocide, citing a plausible risk of international crimes in Gaza. The action promised moral clarity, a principled stance against extremist violence and collective punishment. Smotrich, defiant as always, has retaliated by dismissing this move as anti-Semitic, because of course he has, and part of an Islamicised conspiracy, no less, that the UK government and those other governments acting with the UK are basically anti-Semitic and Islamicised. Clearly hasn't met Starmer, in which case. But it also shows his own innate racism and how badly Zionism continues to cheapen the concept of Jew hate, conflating it with criticism and censure of Israel. His response reflected no remorse. He instead has escalated his agenda, punching down in that way that Zionists love to do, picking on those weaker than themselves, targeting Palestinian institutions economically, which I will come on to in a moment. Contrary to the sanctions' symbolic weight, though, the very ministry tied to Smotrich happens to own this active arms factory on UK soil, Pearson Engineering in Newcastle. Originally a British company supplying mobility and demining equipment to the UK armed forces, the factory was taken over in 2022 by Rafael, who are Israel's state-owned arms conglomerate, and subsequently the Israeli Ministry of Finance, which Smotrich leads, gained significant control over the factory at around that same time. And as you can see by this image from Companies House, Smotrich's ministry took sole control of Pearson Engineering in September of that year. Numerous protests by Palestine solidarity groups have unfolded since October 2023 there. Supporters have blockaded the gates, scaled the rooftops, dropped some rubble and assembled outside Pearson's premises with placards to highlight its role in financing Israeli weapon production. Yet each time British police have been deployed to prevent disruption, not just once, but repeatedly. Between October 2023 and February of this year, Northumbria Police recorded 337 hours of active deployments related to protests at this factory. Over £209,755 of public money defending Pearson Engineering, which works out at an astonishing rate of roughly £622 per hour. Financially, morally and politically, the state has poured resources into protecting the financial interests of a ministry run by a figure it claims to have sanctioned, and instead of listening to those protesting against this Israeli asset on UK soil, producing weapons being used in all likelihood in Gaza. These security expenditures are almost exclusively for safeguarding the site. No effort has been expended to enforce restrictions on Pearson, despite Smotrich now being a sanctioned individual and his ministry's ownership. Rather than freezing or liquidating this UK-based asset, the government has still chosen to protect it, and is continuing to do so. The Vice Chair of Newcastle Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Jason Hussein, captured the collective sense of betrayal, saying, "When activists jam the gears of genocide, they are frequently met with a huge police presence and a disproportionate use of force, resulting in the assaults and arrests of peaceful protesters, with Palestinians and people of colour often targeted. Just a day after the UK sanctioned the Israeli finance minister, business continues as usual and the weapons keep flowing. This factory is not welcome in Newcastle, and we urge the UK government to back up their rhetoric with action." Money being spent policing protest at a site controlled by a sanctioned individual undermines the very sanctions intended to express moral condemnation. What little political gain Starmer got from this, very little, I imagine. It has, in light of this, completely imploded already, but it's also not the only reason Starmer's sanctions are meaningless. Pearson Engineering, you see, is far from alone. Durham-based Permoid Industries has reportedly shipped 16 consignments over 135 tonnes of ammunition containers to Elbit Systems in Israel between October 2023 and April of this year, despite all those claims of a UK arms export suspension that you might be aware of. Each container, designed for belt ammunition, mortar or shell munitions, facilitates onward weapon deployment. Even after Britain suspended those 36 arms export licenses in September of last year, these shipments continued. Between September and December, immediately following the suspension of those arms export licenses, at least $169 million worth of military goods still left UK ports, heading to Israel's security forces. Further inspection reveals that critical components, F-35 jet parts, drone engines and the like, could still reach Israel via open general licenses, or export loopholes. The September exemption ruled that F-35 parts could still flow unless explicitly tagged for use in Gaza, but you just know that only happened because these particular parts were so high profile. All of this reveals a seamless easing across industry, government and bureaucracy. Sanctions may have changed names, but weapons shipments appear to remain uninterrupted. Perhaps the most chilling testament to Smotrich's extremism lies in his retribution after the UK put these sanctions through. Lashing out as he is and taking his ire out on those much weaker than himself. It is the Zionist way. He has moved to collapse the Palestinian banking system itself now in response by ending waivers allowing correspondent banks to serve Palestinian Authority banks. So much for PA support and attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank, as they have been complicit in. They are still themselves Palestinian after all, effectively cutting them off from international finance and threatening the financial security of Palestinians across the West Bank. This decision threatens an entire economy already under siege and blockades, freezing accounts, collapsing payments, halting infrastructure and aid, and deepening the humanitarian disaster, widening it to include vast swathes of the West Bank now. Withdrawing financial liquidity could devastate livelihoods and impede recovery, yet another act of authoritarian punishing, collective punishment as it is. And all for the optics of Starmer's weak sanctions, which deliver nothing. And there's just one imminent attack from Smotrich, even as the UK continues to protect his assets and keep open arms export loopholes. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir form the far-right backbone of Netanyahu's current government. It's a partnership that has survived political attempts to unseat this coalition, having literally just defeated another one, toughened yet by public outrage and internal fracturing. They've used violence-tinged rhetoric to deepen occupation, endorse collective punishment and expand settlements. Their extremist positions aren't marginal either. By becoming part of this coalition government, Netanyahu is so desperate to stay on the gravy train and enjoy a life to which he has become far too accustomed. They are now mainstreamed through official policy. They've helped authorise the Gaza land siege, starvation strategy and attempted ethnic cleansing tactics. They're not fringe figures. They're the architects of contemporary state violence whose policies continue to fuel and sustain a genocide. And while they flourish back home, their assets and their enrichment are being preserved and protected, even abroad. On paper, the UK is condemning Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. On the ground, it's maintaining, actively funding and protecting Smotrich's asset in Newcastle and keeping the arms flows going. This contradiction, therefore, invites a torrent of questions that we should all be asking right now. Do sanctions matter when the asset isn't frozen, but rather defended with taxpayer money? Does the existence of Pearson Engineering within UK borders imply state complicity in Smotrich's agenda, given what they produce? Is the defence of UK industry and jobs more valuable than aligning with declared moral principles and international law that we're signatories of? Right now, this UK government's action suggests that sanctions are just symbolic gestures that don't mean anything. They're empty gestures unless aligned with a tangible action on the ground, of which there is none. There are, of course, obvious things at this point which can and should be done to correct all of this, for policymakers and the public alike to do, and that it is a matter of urgency that these things actually start to happen. For starters, there should be a complete freeze or divestment of Pearson Engineering. If sanctions include Smotrich's...
Sorry. Rejoice, comrades. It's the Morton has arrived. Hi, Morton. Hi, Kevin. How you doing? Great to see you, comrade. Great to see you. Demo. Lovely Demo. I assume you know Demo. Or you know of Demo. He is awesome. We love Demo here. He is great. Welcome in. Great to see you. Sit back, relax, chill. Listen to a mad Scottish woman lose her mind because she's going on to something more... something more rage-inducing next.
Personal assets. The factory should be subject to asset freezing or UAE-style divestment, breaking the nexus between UK lawfulness and extremist ideology. He's in charge of this factory. Why is that not being addressed? Close the loopholes, the export loopholes for Starmer and Co. that they've left open and have been readily exposed as doing. Implement full arms embargoes to Israel and halt any and all shipments, be they F-35 parts or ammunition containers, without any exception or caveat. We should be condemning Smotrich's declared assault on counterpart banking systems, and if he does proceed, then support Palestinian financial resilience and access to global financial systems should be put in place. We should absolutely be demanding that Starmer redirect public money away from protecting Israel's weapons factories as well. Make Israel pay for their own damn protection, and towards community and civil rights instead. We're all enduring cuts, but there's money to protect Israeli state assets on UK soil. What the hell?
Exactly.
Peaceful protesters honouring international law should be treated with rights, not repression. They should be listened to. They shouldn't be criminalised for it. And one thing we all need to ask ourselves is it acceptable for moral boundaries to be so easily reversed when they confront UK economic or industrial interests? If the answer is no, stop backing parties doing and saying the complete opposite then. At its core, this issue is not so much about the weapons or arms exports themselves, it's about integrity. The UK's prestige, its power, its moral authority rest on more than just statements, which rapidly come undone when the truth behind them gets uncovered. They require consistency between words and deeds, and Starmer is frankly binning the Nolan principles as fast as he bins whatever promises, pledges, vows and missions he's ever made. Starmer's government either upholds its stance against extremist violence by matching sanctions with decisive economic action without exception, or it admits that its commitment was performative at best and hypocritical at worst. Will it protect businesses tied to genocide or stand for justice, transparent governance and international law? To do nothing, as Starmer is, in my view, effectively still doing, is to betray both principle and oppressed voices. Standing up to extremism shouldn't be about symbolic gestures. It's about safeguarding our values when they're most tested and doing the right thing. The question is not whether we believe in justice, but whether we're willing to stand up and see it enacted meaningfully and forcefully. It's a big stretch to imagine this Starmer government doing anything of the sort, though, isn't it? Especially when civil servants raise these same concerns over complicity and violation over international law and essentially get told if they don't like it, they can resign. Get all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.
Thank you, Demo. Well done.
This show is like a labor of love. It's like a love letter to our community. It's an honest depiction of people trying to find love in a way that is not ever been depicted on TV. And I think it's revolutionary in how it allows us to really be ourselves and to deal with the real issues in our community, but in a way that is accessible, joyful, playful even. And we wanted to do the show. Look, I watched Indian Matchmaking, and I was like...
My wife watched it, loved it.
That's what we do. I watched it one night.
Okay.
I binged it in one night
Okay.
during the pandemic. And I was like, oh, we could do this. Like, I could do the show, you know? And then it kind of... It went to sleep. And that was 5 years before the show was made. And then I wrote up like a little TV treatment, and I sent it to a production company, and they were like, oh, you know, you're great on camera, but no thanks. There's not enough of a demographic to really even care about this. This is not really marketable. So I'm like, that's fine. All right. The production manager leaves at that production company, and new folks come in, and I get a phone call, and it's like, hey, do you want to do this show about Muslim matchmaking?
Wow.
And I was flabbergasted.
I'm flabbergasted too.
Yeah,
on your
a
behalf,
year later.
But why do you? What changed? Why do you think suddenly?
It was
there
a
interest?
it was a group of brown women.
Okay,
that
so it's
came in
representation
instead of a white man.
So they came in and said, "This is actually a value and interest to us."
Absolutely, and it was a whole team of women.
So those decisions don't get made unless you have certain people who look like us, sound like us, are from our backgrounds in those powerful positions. We talk a lot about representation on the screen,
yes,
but the power is behind the screen.
Nothing works.
Hi guys, a cynic of course is someone who knows the cost of everything but the value of nothing.
and there's a real risk that with Reform UK either running in part or fully in charge of councils, they will cut services simply because they don't understand the value of such things. We keep hearing how business people or such a mindset needs to be employed at local and national governmental level. But this is insane, as public...
For those not in the know, this is Maximilian Robespierre, that's the name of his channel. He is an Irish individual, he is quite good. He is centre-left, not as far left as me. But Max is good, people. I like Max. So, UK YouTuber, feel free to check him out. He is quite good. I was a channel member for a couple of years. I like him. I respect what he does. I might disagree with him on certain issues, but on the whole, quite good. Does lots of research for his videos and stuff. Take it away, Max.
Public services are not for-profit companies. Here, a Reform UK councillor gave a ridiculous example of one such cut, demonstrating a complete lack of understanding of the value of that service.
Well, I've just talked about the home-to-school transport. That is one, definitely. Potholes, contractors, fixing the roads. That is definitely another one. A smaller one, and I don't know how much. This is literally, I've just come out of my first informal cabinet meeting 5 minutes ago. Talking to my head of my cabinet member for education and skills. She has found out that Kent County Council is paying for classes for adult education centres up and down the county that are teaching English as a second language. Now, I'm saying to my cabinet member, can we look into this? How much is this costing us? Why are we paying to teach people English as a second language? Shouldn't the onus be on the individual? If you come to this country, you can use Duolingo on your phone for nothing. You can use...
Just fucking end me. These are much needed and vital services run by local councils, you absolute lunatic. Do you know how hard it is to learn English as a second language? I speak English, and I speak Scots, and I speak some Gaelic. Or Gaelic. It depends, it's pronounced differently on the East Coast, by the way, than on the West Coast. I always say this, English is an absolute fucking garbage language. It makes no sense half the time. And trying to teach people how to do it. My sister was a TEFL, TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language teacher, essentially in a college. Night classes and stuff after her main job. And she gave up. It wasn't because of the students that she was educating, and she said this to them. Lots of them are French and Spanish and Arabic and Mandarin speakers. Do you, Malky? Nice one. Because of the way I say certain words, because of where I lived and grew up. For fuck's sake. I'm sure that's a poltergeist opened my fucking door. I'm sure of it. I'm here in my bedroom. Super Happy is through in the other. It's a single bedroom. I'm in the larger bedroom, so I can get myself set up for my laptop and stuff for my stream. I'm pretty sure there's a poltergeist opening my bedroom door. So I might be annoying Super Happy, which is not a good thing. I want him to sleep. I need him fully refreshed to look after me in the morning. But yes, teaching English as a second language, Christ, completely fucked. As I say, English is garbage. Two great nations, us and the States, separated by the same language. See, that's how these things happen. Plus, across the Commonwealth and across our former colonial holdings, They have colloquial English and English language words that they use in their daily lives across our former colonies. But for fuck's sake. All praise to them for people teaching people how to speak English and how to write English and how to understand it. I speak it. I don't understand it half the fucking time. It makes no sense. English teachers across the UK, either in composition or literally literature understanding. Dear fucking God. All praise to them. They have more patience than I do. Don't get me wrong, I'd want to help people. I'd want to teach people how to speak English. But teaching them how to write it and how to understand it, fuck off. Fucking mental.
Use apps. If we do have to provide these classes, can we do them remotely? You know, do we have to be paying for the upkeep?
I didn't do the proper introduction. Rejoice, comrades. Miso Malky Moppy has arrived. Hi Malky, how you doing? Great to see you. He's not a Marxist. Shame on him. Hope you're doing well, Malky, by the way. It is now cooled down. It is a night, it's lovely, soft rain, cooling down Glasgow. We were about 22 or 23 today. Well, 22 to 20, roughly 22 at the height. And it got a little bit warmer, got up to 23 just before dinner time, so between 4 and 6. Sweet. If you want, you can tell everyone in chat. No pressure, you don't need to do that if you don't want to. You can DM or whisper me, and I'll check it later. I'd love to be all ears for that one. Obviously, again, no pressure. Entirely up to yourself. When I think phenomenally, pay-wise, I'm thinking above 60k, roughly. Which would give you a comfortable living, I would think. A lovely wee house or a flat, mortgage of about 750 a month or something, maybe £1,000. Is it? Ooh. So after tax and everything, I won't say the exact amount. I used to be a bar manager, so I'd done everyone's wages. So I can calculate what everyone's tax bracket is from what their pay is, going on their actual tax code. Obviously, I don't know your tax code. I don't need to know what I do. Generalities, essentially. That's quite good. Well done, Malky. Round of applause for Malky for getting a good paying job. Well, a decently paying job, I guess. Good luck. Got my fingers crossed for you. Not bad. Not bad. Ooh. Let me know. Yeah, let me know. Keep me posted. Thank you. If you want to, of course. Obviously. But yeah. Good luck. Fingers crossed. Is it close to you? Oh, do you drive or will you be using public transport? If you've got good public transport, use the public transport. The less gas guzzling or petrol using vehicles on the streets, always good. I like that. Yeah, keep me posted, please. That'd be awesome. Good luck. Will you be wearing a suit to the interview? Inverness. You can get a bus up. 3.5 hour journey. You can use your phone, you can read the news, you can listen to music. You can watch my stream. On replay, obviously. I am recording. Feel free to watch me when I'm offline. Obviously. Everyone, you can do that. You don't own a suit. Super Hubby has 2 suits, one of which he got married in. It does look cool. It is grey. I liked it. He looked absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, Super Hubby doesn't like suits either. I used to wear smart suits. Mostly skirt and dress suits, you know, like shift dress, jacket, scarf, nice simple necklace, clip-on earrings. Just a classic rose-coloured eyes and simple foundation, some blush, light pink lipstick. It did look quite good. My favourite one was a purple trouser suit. I miss that suit so much. It's fucking awesome. Give me a second. Christ's sake. Stop going to sleep, stupid phone. Christ. Oh! Not bad. Cool. Good luck. Hope the interview goes well. In fact, I'll go back to the beginning of this one.
Hi guys, a cynic of course is someone who knows the cost of everything but the value of nothing. And there's a real risk that with Reform UK either running in part or fully in charge of councils, they will cut services simply because they don't understand the value of such things. We keep hearing how business people or such a mindset needs to be employed at local and national governmental level. But this is insane, as public services are not for-profit companies. Here, a Reform UK councillor gave a ridiculous example of one such cut, demonstrating a complete lack of understanding of the value of that service.
Well, I've just talked about the home to school transport. That is one, definitely. Potholes, contractors, fixing the roads. That is definitely another one. A smaller one, and I don't know how much, this is literally, I've just come out of my first informal cabinet meeting 5 minutes ago, talking to my head of my cabinet member for education and skills. She has found out that Kent County Council is paying for classes for adult education centres up and down the county that are teaching English as a second language. Now, I'm saying to my cabinet member, can we look into this? How much is this costing us? Why are we paying to teach people English as a second language? Shouldn't the onus be on the individual? If you come to this country, you can use Duolingo on your phone for nothing. You can use apps. If we do have to provide these classes, can we do them remotely? You know, do we have to be paying for the upkeep of a whole building for adult education for teaching people English as a second language?
Hang on, though. That
Most of the buildings where teaching English as a second language for people coming into this country to live and work, to contribute to society, to contribute to the country as a whole, those buildings are mostly colleges and community hubs and church halls where those lessons happen. I know you can't cut the funding for a church because you don't control it. It is the church that owns it. If it is a college or another community hub or another community building within the council area, you can't cut that either. That is your civil duty to fund those places, by the way. You can't cut them or you get sanctioned by the UK government because you're there to provide those services. What are they not understanding about this? The places where English is taught as a second language here in Glasgow are in community hubs and colleges. And one in the Central Mosque, literally just the other side of the river. That's where those lessons happen. That's where those classes happen. I know you can't cut the funding for mosques or churches or synagogues or chapels. Catholic Church, by the way. Catholic Church called chapel. Church is Protestant, either Anglican, Church of Scotland, or Free Presbyterian or Episcopalian churches. Or Quakers. The main Quaker place also does teaching English as a second language. You can't cut their funding. They're funded by the members of the churches, or the church itself, especially with the mosque and the Catholic churches where these lessons happen. So if you want to do that, you'll be cutting funding for colleges and schools where other things other than those lessons happen. You're not allowed to do that. You'll get your wrist slap saying you have to fund them. That is what your government block funding is for. You have to provide these services. So good luck trying to cut them and saying you're not going to fix fucking potholes. What the absolute fuck? Costs more insurance. If you do cut the funding for those ones, you'll have insurance companies on your arse. Good luck trying to talk to them. These people are absolute fucking morons. You have to provide those services. That's what your funding is for. That's what your council tax funding, the council tax you take off the citizens of said council area, that's what that funding's for. If you do try to cut it, and do manage to cut it and get no pushback from the British government, shame on them and shame on yous. Fucking ridiculous.
It's a bit contradictory. Reform MPs are constantly banging on about people who come here from overseas needing to learn English. I get your point on Duolingo, but it's a rather idiosyncratic language, Lyndon. I mean, you can't be a reformer cancelling English classes for people who don't speak the lingo.
We can absolutely be reformers cancelling English classes for people who don't speak the lingo if it's costing KCC a lot of money. Like I say,
did this lady learn to swim using an app?
KCC is Kent County Council, by the way.
You talk Reform constantly complain, as the Tory journalist pointed out there, you're constantly complaining about people not learning the language. You're constantly complaining about people not integrating. What is the best way for people to integrate into a society? By learning the language, by providing them with this support. It's a public service. It's supposed to supply the public with a service. Maybe it's not everyone who's going to access this service, but it's for people to help them integrate. And if they're able to integrate, they're able to work. If they're able to work, they're able to contribute to society. They're able to pay taxes. Isn't this what you want? Reform UK keep complaining about people not integrating. Well, and if you provide them with English courses, it will help them integrate. And we're talking about people who probably can't afford to do English lessons. And if they can't afford to do those English lessons, then they're not going to do them. And if they don't do them, then they're not going to be integrating to the same speed as they could be. Like, to say, well, you just use an app. Honestly, has this person ever done any sort of study? You can't just learn everything with an app. An app is a tool. It's a support in some cases to help people memorize something or to help them with their exercises. But it's not it's not a replacement for a teacher. Maybe in the future, but we're not there yet. But until we get to that stage, you need to provide people with the support they need. Now, and it's also ironic how Reform UK is saying, well, why don't we just do it remotely? These are the same people who are complaining about people working from home. So they want teachers to work from home. They don't want teachers to come into a classroom. And obviously, anyone who has done any online courses realize that there's a big difference between doing a course in a group online and doing a course in person. Much better learning is done in person than online. But we keep coming back to this point. Reform UK are looking at, okay, this is a cost, this is a cost, this is a cost. Let's get rid of that, that, and that. When they talk about potholes, they, of course, I believe, and I will have to wait and see if I'm right or wrong, but I believe this is about giving out contracts to people who are friendly to reform. Somebody's going to make a lot of money when reform are councillors. Somebody's going to make a lot of money when reform are in power. That's what it's all about. Look at what Donald Trump is doing. So, this idea that you just cut services because you don't understand the value of these services is going to impact communities. It's going to impact councils, because if they're not able to provide people with a small costly English course, what happens? Those people learn the skills they need, they start getting jobs, and then they don't need to rely on the council maybe later on for housing or other services. They're able to contribute more. But Reform UK don't seem to understand the value of this. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Max. Brilliant.
Right, so the hijacking and kidnap of the Freedom Flotilla vessel Mandarin and its crew is just the tip of a big, fat, fetid iceberg as far as the UK government are concerned, because it has exposed the UK government's complicity in Israeli actions and not holding them to account. To even stretch so far as abandoning a British-flagged vessel as the Madeleine was and its crew when it was basically British sovereign territory says a lot about what the Starmer regime thinks about sovereignty, doesn't it? But they aren't the only ones they've abandoned. See, it's one thing to see a British ship and its international crew abducted and to just let Israel do it. What about British people in Israel? Seems they aren't protected either, as another grossly underreported story relates to, posing the question as to whether anyone or anything from Britain is safe from Israeli detention, should they be placed in that position. But it's also not just a problem for the Starmer government either, as the Tories before them have only now been exposed for just as big a scandal in the pursuit of protecting Israel at all costs. A story no mainstream media outlets have covered at all, independent media again carrying the weight of real journalism in the UK. And it means not only do the likes of Keir Starmer and David Lammy have big questions to answer, but so now does David Cameron.
كان سريع جدا لم يعطوا أي تنبيه أصلا بالأساس أنهم سيأتون لمحاصرة القرب. كنا في تلك اللحظة نبعد حوالي 100 ميل في المياه الإقليمية الدولية عن غزة. لم نكن بالقرب تماما من أي حدود إسرائيلية. انتشرت طائرات درون كثيرة في السماء، سلط ضوء شديد جدا على القارب وبالتالي لا نستطيع الرؤية من حولنا، وبدأت تلقي هذه المادة التي هي علينا، ربما تظهر هنا في جانب منها. ما أن نلمس هذه المادة بجلدنا حتى تصبح باللون الأسود. حصروا القارب في خلال ثواني معدودة ما بعد رش هذا الشيء على القارب، وقفزوا على القارب سريعا. احتجزونا بغرفة داخل القارب لمدة وصلت إلى يوم تقريبا. هذا اليوم كل ما كانوا يفعلوه أنهم يحاولوا أن يعطونا طعام وماء بشرط أن يأخذوا صورة لنا وهم يفعلون هذا. طبعا هذا جعل البقية يرفضون أن يأخذوا أي طعام أو شراب منهم بالمرة. هذا القارب ظل يسير لقرابة 12 ساعة تقريبا، 12 ساعة في المياه الإقليمية الدولية إلى أن أوصلونا إلى أشدود تقريبا.
نعم.
بقينا داخل القارب لقرابة 10 ساعات أخرى. ابتدأوا طبعا في البداية بسحب ريما حسن وغريتا تمبل ومعهم تياغو الذي كان ينظم هذه الرحلة، ومن ثم بدأوا ينادون علينا واحدا تلو الآخر. لم يكن يفرق معهم أي شيء إن كنت صحافة أو طبيب. معنا طبيب، سيصل الطبيب اليوم بعد ساعتين تقريبا من الآن. حالته سيئة جدا. القنصل الفرنسي هناك ما أن يحاول أن يجلس مع أي شخص يفتح عليه الباب ولا يسمح له بالسرية مع مواطن الدولة. كانوا يزعجوا القنصل بشكل سيء جدا. غريتا على مدار يوم كامل، وكنت أنا وهي بالغرفة، ما أن تريد أن تنام أو ترتاح قليلا. كلنا كنا في حالة إرهاق وتعب. كلما كانت تحاول أن تنام أو تسند رأسها على الحائط يأتي إلى الغرفة ضابط وبصوت عالي ينادي عليها: غريتا لا تنامي، هذا غير مسموح به. ما أن شعر أحد الضباط من أنني بدأت أفهم قليلا ما يفعلوه، اقترب مني وقال لي: لماذا أنت نتن هكذا بهذا الشكل، ولماذا رائحتكم سيئة؟ قلت له: أنتم لم تدعونا نرتاح منذ 3 أيام تقريبا. حاولوا أن يرهقونا قدر الإمكان قبل أن نغادر. فترة ضيقة جدا. من لم يوقع على الورقة تم تهديده. على سبيل المثال نائبة ريما حسن ما زالت هناك ترفض توقيع الأوراق. استمعت إلى ضابط تهددها بشكل مباشر: سأطلب رأسك بالحي بالجدار إذا لم توقع على سنجري هذه المعاملة بطريقتنا نحن.
Right, so that was a clip there of Omar Fayyad, the Al Jazeera journalist who joined the crew of the Madleen to document the voyage, talking about what happened after the crew were abducted and brought back against their will to Israel and the treatment they got. Confined aboard the boat for a day, were only offered food and water on condition they could be photographed, and the crew refused it. They were deprived of sleep for the time they were in detention, threatening people who refused to sign the deportation papers, even threatening European Parliament MEP Rima Hassan with having her head hit off the wall if she didn't sign. Still, nothing from the UK government in defence of this crew aboard a British flagged vessel, just that it was intolerable. The seizure of the Madleen by Israeli forces in international waters represents not just a gross violation of international maritime law, but a deeper failure by the UK government to uphold its obligations to its citizens and to international justice. Starmer's frankly intolerable response is just a euphemism for his cowardice and his complicity. When the UK abandons its own vessels, the citizens aboard them, even the framework of international law, it's not simply failing people or those it has responsibility for. It is actively participating in a dangerous erosion of legal and moral norms on the global stage. But the Madleen seizure was not a one-off. It symbolises a pattern of Israeli aggression against humanitarian efforts, and more concerningly, the UK's unwillingness to respond with the forceful diplomatic measures that such acts demand. The UK government has barely raised a protest, and certainly has not mobilised legal or diplomatic pressure to secure the release of all of those detained individuals. One of the crew members, Tiago Avila from Brazil, remains imprisoned and is currently on a hunger and water strike, and has been since 4 a.m. on Monday. A desperate plea for international attention, which the UK continues to ignore. However, the case of the Madleen is also just the latest example of UK government indifference towards those it bears responsibility for. How about the case of a lady who goes by the title of Ms. D. Murphy? Have you heard of her? Heard of her story yet? Probably not. It was a comment on one of my videos yesterday that made me aware of this one, because I hadn't seen it. You see, Miss D. Murphy is a 70-year-old British activist who was arrested in the West Bank about a week ago now. Another case that further demonstrates the UK government's abdication of its duty to protect its citizens abroad, not just on boats, but seemingly in any capacity whatsoever where it comes to Israel. Arrested under what the International Solidarity Movement, the ISM, has described as a false charge, being in a military zone, Murphy's case has received scant attention from the UK government. She has vowed to contest her arrest and the attempts to deport her. But unlike the diplomatic support often extended to British citizens in legal jeopardy abroad, Starmer's government appears silent when it comes to Israel. Murphy and the Madeleine and the crew of the Madeleine are only two examples, though, but they point to a broader reality that British citizens are not safe from Israeli aggression should they be placed on the receiving end of it, and their government will not defend them. Still, there are attempts at appeasement, though, aren't there? To great fanfare, the UK has sanctioned Israeli ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich over their genocidal and incendiary remarks about Gaza. They are two of the absolute worst in Netanyahu's government.
On the left, Itamar Ben-Gvir. On the right, Smotrich. These two are fucking monsters. They are right-wing fucking lunatics, in my opinion. They're both ghouls, and they need locked up.
But you do still have to appreciate Netanyahu chose to go into power with them too. While this step is certainly a welcome one in and of itself, it is performative at best. The sanctions are symbolic. Neither minister is likely to come to the UK anyway, and it does nothing at all to alleviate the suffering of Palestinians or hold Israel accountable for inflicting that suffering in any meaningful way at all. Starmer's government, like the Tory regime before it, continues to adopt a dual posture of soft rhetorical criticism paired with unwavering material support for Israel. The continuities in UK foreign policy are stark and they are damning. But most egregiously and completely ignored by the main media, incidentally, is the massive scandal that's just emerged. The former Foreign Secretary David Cameron threatened the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan with withdrawing the UK from the Rome Statute, defunding the ICC and isolating it diplomatically if arrest warrants were issued for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. Cameron not only threatened action but accused Khan of moral equivalence for prosecuting both Hamas and Israeli figures alike. This led to an intervention where the then Sunak government filed a complaint to the court which delayed the ICC's proceedings, didn't it? We remember that, don't we? It effectively shielded Netanyahu and Gallant for a little bit longer from those imminent arrest warrants. Cameron, whilst boasting that no one has been tougher on Israel than me, at the same time that he was doing all this, acted to protect war criminals from international prosecution. So the implications of this are staggering. The UK was preparing to tear up its commitments to international justice by walking away from the Rome Statute, not for its own interests or in defence of universal human rights, but to protect two foreign officials accused of war crimes. Despite the gravity of Cameron's actions, mainstream UK media have totally ignored this story. Middle East Eye had broken it. Publications like The Independent, while covering Greta Thunberg's deportation, have continued to downplay the illegality and severity of the Madeleine seizure, with headlines containing words like kidnapped and war crime in inverted commas as if these are not statements of truth. She was kidnapped. The boat was in international waters, and Israel is committing war crimes that we bear witness to daily. Headlines focus more on celebrity intrigue than on state-sanctioned abduction and the implications for international law of what we're getting, instead passing it off for news. So this silence from the press is not coincidental. It mirrors the political establishment's broader reluctance to hold Israel accountable. As a result, stories like Omar Fayyad's testimony of mistreatment by the IDF or the hunger strike of Tiago Avila remain hidden in independent or foreign outlets like Squawk Box or The Cradle or Press TV. The Hind Rajab Foundation, the HRF, has already submitted a legal filing to the Metropolitan Police over the seizure of the Madeleine because it was illegal, underscoring that illegality under UK and international law. Yet the government response remains utterly passive. Instead of asserting its sovereignty or defending its maritime interests, the UK government has issued vague statements of disapproval instead. Intolerable is a word fit for diplomatic discomfort, not for the unlawful abduction of British citizens. Had David Cameron succeeded in withdrawing the UK from the Rome Statute, It would have shattered British credibility as a proponent of international law. This would have made the UK a pariah in global legal circles, emboldened authoritarian regimes, and signalled that powerful allies of Israel can act with impunity. The UK would have turned its back on global efforts to prosecute crimes against humanity, all for the sake of protecting two individuals credibly accused of orchestrating a genocide. It's sick. The Starmer government has done little, however, to distinguish itself from those conservative predecessors when it comes to Israel. Beyond Cameron's now revealed threats to the ICC, UK policy has consistently prioritised strategic relations with Israel over the rule of law and human rights. Starmer's Labour has largely adopted a pro-Israel posture, mirroring the Tory approach in rhetoric and action. This continuity is alarming, especially when framed against the backdrop of Gaza's humanitarian catastrophe. The assault on international aid efforts like the Freedom Flotilla and the silencing of British voices demanding accountability. While the UK readily sanctions Russia over Ukraine, it refuses to treat Israel with the same scrutiny, despite mounting evidence of war crimes and systematic oppression. Greta Thunberg's participation in the Madeleine mission has helped bring some international attention to the issue. Her description of being kidnapped by Israeli forces in international waters is not hyperbole, it's a factual representation of the incident. Yet her statements have been largely minimised in British media, reframed through the lens of youthful idealism, an insult to her experience as an activist, frankly, rather than serious allegations of state misconduct. Her condemnation of the war crimes in Gaza following her deportation has barely registered in major UK newspapers. Instead of amplifying her call for justice, mainstream media coverage has focused on tone, not substance, and treated her opinions as little more than curiosity. The UK government's failures, from Starmer's silence to Cameron's threats, represent a grave danger to international law and to the safety of British citizens abroad. If British-flagged vessels can be seized in international waters without meaningful government response, then UK maritime sovereignty is a myth. If British citizens can be arrested and mistreated abroad with impunity, their passports clearly mean little, and we as citizens to this government even less than that. And if international law is undermined to protect geopolitical allies, then justice becomes selective, hollow, and morally bankrupt. So we need to demand some answers here. Why is our government still shielding foreign war criminals? Why is the media not reporting on the UK's threats to international institutions? And more importantly, why are British citizens and vessels seemingly expendable when it comes to appeasing Israel? The seizure of the Madeleine and the arrest of Ms. D. Murphy are not isolated incidents. They are the visible consequences of a broader UK policy that has, under successive governments, chosen to support Israel even at the expense of British interests and international law. David Cameron's threat to the ICC underscores the lengths to which the UK establishment will go to obstruct justice. Starmer's inaction shows that the same political culture remains fully intact, though. For the UK to reclaim its moral and legal credibility, it's got to do a lot more than issue tepid condemnations. It needs to defend its citizens, uphold maritime law, support international justice, and break free from this toxic legacy of complicity. Anything less is not just a failure, it is an absolute betrayal of everything this country is supposed to stand for. Not everything, it must be said, is going Israel's way where it comes to the Freedom Flotilla, though. In fact, whilst they might have thought they got away with breaking international law, even if the British government won't do anything about that seemingly, others clearly will, and are. So you get all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch by way of a pick-me-up. Please also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.
Sorry, comrades. I'll get round to that Israel Tehran situation. Well, technically today, but later, quite a lot later on today. I'm feeling a bit sleepy now. Well, not sleepy. I'm feeling kind of sore and kind of stiff. So I need to go. So sorry. Thank you for being here. Oh dear God. 3 hours and 15 minutes. A little bit longer than usual. Thank you for being here. Much appreciated. So good you could join me tonight. I will see you all later. You can scatter to the four winds, go everywhere you wish, or where you may. Look after yourself, stay hydrated, use sunblock, stay based. I will catch you all later. Bye bye.